Chapter 900. Beast Sea Jungle. This was the second time Yang Kai had come here. Cai Dai silently led the way, her 7-colored wings flapping as she moved as fast as lightning. Yang Kai followed behind her at a leisurely pace, not seeming to be strenuous at all. This caused Cai Dai to be a little surprised. She was a second-order saint, but in order to take care of Yang Kai, a transcendent cultivator, she had deliberately slowed down her speed. However, after Yang Kai was able to keep up without much effort, she had gradually increased her speed in order to arrive at Thunder Tree Palace as soon as possible so as not to keep Great Senior waiting. Even now, she was using her full strength, yet Yang Kai was still able to keep up with her. Cai Dai's heart was filled with shock, but due to her cold nature, her expression remained unchanged as she continued to lead the way. This little brat, he's a bit strange, Cai Dai thought to herself. It was impossible for an ordinary third-order transcendent to keep up with her speed, but he was able to do so. No wonder he was able to become the new Holy Master of 9 Heavens' Holy Land and subdue so many masters from the demon race. Originally, Cai Dai had thought he was just lucky, but now she discovered that this little brat really did have some real talent. All the way. Yang Kai's brow wrinkled slightly as he constantly glanced around. His actions naturally didn't escape the observation of Li Rong, the latter quietly sending him a message with her divine sense. "Master, have you found something suspicious?" "Yang Kai replied, "The aura here is a bit strange. If there's any danger, we shouldn't go." Li Rong couldn't help feeling nervous. Yang Kai laughed and said, "It's not a dangerous aura, I just feel that this time in the Beast Sea Jungle is a bit different from the last time, but I can't pinpoint what exactly is different." There was indeed an aura in the air that Yang Kai was very concerned about, but if he wanted to investigate it, he didn't know where to begin. "Don't worry too much, Great Senior is still easy to get along with and is a trustworthy person. The change here is probably related to the matter he came to find me for, we'll know once we get there." Li Rong didn't say much, but she still warned, "If there is really any danger, Master must not be too far away from me." Yes. Yang Kai kept replying. Now, Yang Kai had many means at his disposal. He could tear through space, control the flying heavens shuttle, possess the wind and thunder wings, possess extremely high-grade artifacts, transform into a dragon, and even use the demon god transformation. It would be difficult for an average person to harm him, unless they could catch him off guard and incapacitate him with a single strike. Otherwise, even if he was surrounded by an army of thousands, Yang Kai was confident he could escape. He didn't take Li Rong's warning to heart. Speeding the entire way, it only took them 2 to 3 days to arrive at the towering Thunder Tree Manor. When he arrived, Yang Kai was shocked to find that countless monster clan experts had gathered here. They were either crouching or crawling, surrounding the area several times. There were also many experts who had taken human form and were standing on the tree trunks, resting with their eyes closed. "This is the Thunder Tree Manor." Li Rong stared at the huge ancient tree in front of her in amazement, a look of horror flashing across her beautiful eyes. Just like Yang Kai when he first came here, he was also shocked by this ancient tree. For it to grow like this ancient tree was most likely at least 10,000 years old. It could even be traced back to an ancient era. The ancient tree contained the essence of thunder and lightning, from time to time flashing arcs of pure lightning. The monster race masters standing on the tree trunks weren't affected in the slightest, all of them casting their gazes towards Yang Kai and Li Rong. All of them gently nodded, expressing their goodwill. The last time Yang Kai came here, he had solved the problem of the beast transformation pond and received their unanimous approval. "Come with me," Cai Dai's figure flashed as she flew up. Yang Kai and Li Rong hurriedly followed. Inside the treehouse that stood high above the clouds, Yang Kai saw the Great Senior. The last time he saw him, it was also in this treehouse. The Great Senior grinned and welcomed Yang Kai's arrival, motioning him to sit down and talk. At a small table, Yang Kai and the Great Senior sat opposite each other, Cai Dai standing behind one while Li Rong stood behind the other. "Did you bring any cultivation materials for my monster race this time?" the Great Senior asked with a smile. "The crystal stone loads were almost completely mined by you. You don't need them for the time being, right?" Yang Kai rolled his eyes. The monster race had been acting like a tyrant in the Holy Land for 2 to 3 years now, unscrupulously mining the crystal stone lodes, simply draining the goose that lays the golden eggs. This made Yang Kai very annoyed, feeling like he had smashed his own foot with a stone. Not needing them for the time being doesn't mean we won't need them in the future. Crystal stones are a good thing. My monster race doesn't have any crystal stone lodes here. We can't compare to your human territory. The great senior slowly shook his head. Besides, I heard that your holy land has made a lot of wealth recently. You have more crystal stones than you can use up. You're the one asking around. Yang Kai was speechless. Those are all pills I refined. Forget it, next time I'll bring you some crystal stones and pills. Good, then I'll wait for the good news. The great senior's eyes lit up. Thinking that Yang Kai was a straightforward person, it wasn't difficult to deal with him. Great senior specifically called me over this time. What is the matter? Yang Kai's expression became serious as he asked in a deep voice. There is indeed a matter. The great senior's expression also became dignified as he pondered for a while, seemingly thinking about how to explain, eventually saying, Boy, have you ever heard of a void corridor? Yang Kai's face went black. Great senior, you must be joking with me. The great senior's mouth twitched as he gave a hollow laugh. You're asking too much. Have you ever seen one with your own eyes? Yang Kai nodded lightly. Although he didn't know about others, Yang Kai always felt that the number of void corridors he had seen was too many. That makes sense, the great senior nodded. The great senior nodded and continued, some time ago, something strange happened in my Beast Sea jungle. It was related to the void corridor. Yang Kai just stared straight at him, not intending to interrupt. About 3 to 5 days away from Thunder Tree Palace, a very unstable void corridor entrance suddenly appeared. Speaking of which, I've also seen void corridors before. When I was young, I even entered a mysterious small world. However, the void corridor that appeared in the Beast Sea jungle was very different from the one I saw at that time. How was it different? Yang Kai asked. It was very large and gave off a very strange feeling, the great senior said solemnly. Great senior's expression was heavy as he solemnly said, its appearance seems to have changed the atmosphere of the entire Beast Sea jungle. Didn't you notice it when you came here? I noticed it, but I don't know why. It's because of it. The great senior nodded. Speaking of which, the entrances to void corridors are generally very well hidden and are rarely discovered. Even if they are opened by someone, they will close on their own after a short time. However, this void corridor entrance was different. It suddenly appeared on its own, and although it was very unstable, it showed no signs of closing. Oh, that's quite strange. That place is the intersection between this king's and the monster race's other great senior's territory, Earth-splitting Divine Ox. After the void corridor appeared, we investigated it together. Earth-splitting Divine Ox? Yang Kai called out with a strange expression. What's wrong? Do you know him? The great senior asked suspiciously. Yang Kai shook his head. I don't know him, but I learned a certain martial skill that was related to him. Saying so, Yang Kai waved his hand and used a beast soul skill he hadn't used for a long time. Accompanied by the roar of a tiger and the roar of an ox, the golden tiger seal and ox seal suddenly appeared. The inside of the treehouse suddenly became hot. The two beast souls were completely condensed from pure Yuan Qi and seemed to have a high level of sentience, their eyes moving about as if they were alive. The great senior was startled and quickly waved his hand, arranging a barrier around the treehouse to prevent it from burning down. Heaven-splitting white tiger, earth-splitting divine ox. Cai Dai exclaimed, staring blankly at Yang Kai along with the great senior. It's a beast soul skill I cultivated a long time ago, Yang Kai explained. This isn't a simple beast soul skill, this is a real soul skill. The great senior muttered thoughtfully, have you ever seen the remains of these two monster beasts? They seem to have fought a great battle and in the end, they perished together, leaving behind only their respective inner cores. When I was absorbing the energy from the inner cores, I saw the scene of their great battle and comprehended this martial skill. That's right. The great senior nodded, sighing. A beast soul skill with a real soul has always been a powerful monster beast whose will did not dissipate after its death, condensing into its essence and finally being obtained by someone. It seems that the two remains you saw belonged to my monster race's seniors. Unfortunately. Heaven-splitting white tiger and earth-splitting divine ox are both extremely noble bloodlines in the monster race, comparable to this king, but the more noble the bloodline, the fewer there are. The white tiger clan seems to have gone extinct, and the old ox clan is the only one left. This king is also the same. After listening to the great senior's explanation, Yang Kai understood just how precious this beast soul skill was. Because he had never used it before, it was only now that he discovered that this beast soul skill had become more and more powerful as his strength grew. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's get down to business, the great senior said after a moment of sadness. The strange appearance of the void corridor made me and the old ox's subordinates unable to figure out its depths, so we decided to go in and investigate to see if there were any benefits, but unexpectedly, many of them died. In the end, the old ox and I were alarmed and joined forces to enter, but even with our combined efforts, we were unable to decipher the mysteries of that place. Was it very difficult? Yang Kai was stunned. It was unimaginably difficult, and we also found some very ancient characters there. As you know, my monster race doesn't have such things as writing. Were they from the human race? The great senior shook his head and muttered, they were demon characters. Yang Kai's brow rose as Li Rong, who was standing behind him, also showed a look of interest. The old ox and I couldn't identify them, so we didn't dare act rashly. Now that he's standing guard over there, I've come to call for reinforcements. So you brought me here? Yang Kai smiled lightly. What you're looking for isn't me, but rather Li Rong, right? Boy, you're smart. Even the old ox and I felt like we were treading on thin ice because of that strange power, so what can you do to help? However, the madam behind you is the key to solving the puzzle. As he spoke, he turned a burning gaze towards Li Rong. Chapter 901. Li Rong's brow furrowed as she asked in a low voice, what kind of demon characters are they? It's like this. Great Senior said as he condensed his Saint Chi into his fingertips and began drawing something on the table in front of him. A moment later, several complex characters appeared on the table, flashing with fluorescent light. Yang Kai glanced over and found that these characters were like tadpoles, twisting and turning, completely different from the characters he knew, so he couldn't help turning his eyes to Li Rong. Li Rong stared closely at these characters, her expression dignified as she nodded. These are indeed demon characters, and very ancient ones at that. What does this mean? Great Senior saw that she seemed to recognize these characters and couldn't help smiling, quickly asking. It's similar to the signs set up in front of every sect's restricted area. It means a warning, trespassers will die. Great Senior gently nodded, feeling that this explanation made sense. Since these are very ancient demon characters, they should be from before the demon race. How could they appear in the monster race's territory? Yang Kai frowned, not quite understanding. Great Senior smiled and explained, the demon land wasn't just a small place in the past. Today's monster race territory and human territory had a large area that belonged to the demon race a long time ago, but after the fall of the great demon god, the demon race was gradually forced to give up a lot of their territory and retreat to the current demon land. It's likely that this area was once part of the demon race's territory. So it's like that. Yang Kai felt relieved. Although I don't know which branch of the demon race the ruins in the void corridor belonged to, what I'm certain is that this branch was once very powerful. The one who carved these characters must have been one of the world's top masters. Old Ox and I both felt a kind of murderous intent from these characters, a murderous intent that has not dissipated for countless years. Yang Kai paled slightly. Since it's so dangerous, why do you still want to go in? If such a strange place appeared in your Nine Heavens holy land, would you not go in to investigate? Great Senior didn't answer directly. Yang Kai thought about it for a moment before nodding. Yes, even if it wasn't for the sake of exploring the mysteries within, at the very least, they had to make sure that the place wouldn't harm the disciples. That's right. The Yarrow's territory isn't that big in the first place, and that void corridor appeared at the intersection of my and Old Cow's territories. If something unexpected happened because of this, we would have to give up on the Beast Sea Forest and retreat to other places. The space for survival would be even smaller. After explaining for a while, Great Senior turned to Li Rong and said, so this time, this king would like to invite Madam to enter that place with me and explore it. What does Madam think? You'll have to ask the Lord. Li Rong pursed her lips and smiled. I can't give you an answer. The great senior immediately turned his gaze to Yang Kai. Yang Kai grinned meaningfully. If even you two monster race great seniors find that place troublesome, it's definitely not a good place. Junior's strength is too low. If I enter, I'm afraid I'll die 10 times out of 10. The great senior couldn't help rolling his eyes. I'm not asking you to go in, I'm just asking the lady behind you to go in. You can stay in Thunder Tree Palace. My monster race's disciples will entertain you. If you feel bored, you can return to Nine Heavens Holy Land now, no one will stop you. How could that be? Yang Kai smiled. Li Rong came out with me, naturally she will return with me. You little brat. Great Senior helplessly took a deep breath and said, Tell me, what conditions do you want in order to agree? You really won't act until you see the rabbit. Yang Kai shook his head. Your monster race's territory is so remote, besides some spirit grasses and spirit medicines, there's nothing good here. I don't care about spirit grasses and spirit medicines right now. Yang Kai's appearance made the great senior feel helpless. Just as he was feeling anxious, wondering what kind of excessive request Yang Kai would make, the great senior's expression suddenly became serious as he turned to Li Rong and asked, Do you want to go in? Li Rong pursed her lips and whispered, I'll follow master's arrangements. Yang Kai stared at her deeply for a moment before nodding lightly, then let's go in. He could see that Li Rong was very interested in the ancient demon race characters and wanted to go in. Naturally, he wouldn't stop her. What are the conditions? Great Senior asked anxiously. If I said there were no conditions, would you believe me? Great Senior shook his head. Good. Yang Kai frowned and pondered for a moment before suddenly smiling, looking at Cai Dai standing behind Great Senior and saying, Make her smile for me. Cai Dai froze for a moment before a cold light flashed across her beautiful eyes, as if she wanted to cut Yang Kai into 1,000 pieces, her gaze piercing. You little brat. Great Senior was speechless, not knowing what to do. Haha, I was just joking, Miss Cai Dai doesn't need to take it seriously. Saying so, Yang Kai stood up. Since we're going, let's hurry up and see the situation inside. Seeing that Yang Kai really didn't have any more conditions, Great Senior was a little surprised and couldn't help looking at him in a higher light. Then let's go. Great Senior also stood up and released his monster chi to wrap Yang Kai before flying off. Li Rong hurriedly followed while Cai Dai stood in place and stared coldly at Yang Kai's back for a moment before following. Boy, next time don't tease Cai Dai, be careful she doesn't turn hostile. As they flew, Great Senior whispered. Yang Kai shivered and nodded solemnly. I won't, I feel like there's a murderous intent behind me. Serves you right. Great Senior took pleasure in Yang Kai's misfortune and sighed, sometimes even this king has no way to deal with her. In this king's memory, I don't think I've ever seen her smile. You really can stand this iceberg. You're the best, you've made your subordinates obedient, Great Senior said, intentionally or unintentionally glancing towards Li Rong next to him. A second-order Saint Realm Master obeying the orders of a third-order transcendent brat, Great Senior couldn't help feeling it was somewhat unrealistic. What do you know? I conquered them with my personal charm, Yang Kai spat disdainfully. Shameless boasting. Great Senior laughed. After interacting with Yang Kai more often, Great Senior found that this boy's personality was the complete opposite of the old Holy Masters. Although he didn't seem very reliable, after interacting with him, Great Senior felt like he was much younger. Time passed slowly and Yang Kai let Great Senior fly him forward, too lazy to use his own strength. However, as they approached their destination, the strange aura in the air became more and more obvious. It was the aura of void force. It was as if the entire Beast Sea jungle had been affected. Yang Kai could hardly imagine how large this void corridor was and how it could affect such a large area. 2 or 3 days later, a small narrow crack in the sky appeared in Yang Kai's vision. When he saw this crack, Yang Kai's face suddenly changed and he muttered, That wouldn't be the entrance to the void corridor, right? Yes, that's the entrance. So big. Yang Kai exclaimed. Although he couldn't see the exact length of this crack from where he was standing, Yang Kai estimated that it was at least 1,000 meters long, as if the sky itself had been torn apart, a terrifying sight to behold. Moreover, The crack was extremely unstable. Waves of void energy that made one's heart palpitate uneasily spread out from it. The crack also opened and closed intermittently, as if it could collapse at any moment. About 10 kilometers away from the void corridor, a group of monster race masters had gathered. Great Senior took young Kai and flew straight towards this group. Perceiving Great Senior's aura, a burly man leading this group was shocked and turned his head. A moment later, he shouted loudly, "Thunder Dragon, why did you take so long? This old ox has been waiting impatiently." Great Senior smiled lightly. "It takes time to find someone. It's only been 7 or 8 days. Why are you so anxious?" As he spoke, the group of 4 landed. Young Kai glanced over at the man who had shouted and couldn't help shivering slightly, knowing that this was another Great Senior of the monster race, Earth-splitting Divine Ox. Like most monster race masters, even after assuming human form, this Earth-splitting Divine Ox still retained some of his monster race characteristics, such as the 2 dark red horns on his forehead that exuded a strong energy fluctuation. Young Kai didn't doubt the strength of these 2 horns. They were equivalent to top-grade artifacts. Earth-splitting Divine Ox's appearance was much rougher than Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon's, a few pieces of animal skin casually tied around his body, his thick black leg hair fluttering in the wind. His voice was low and muffled, like thunder rolling past one's ears. "These are the reinforcements you've found?" Old Ox's eyes widened as he stared at young Kai and then at Li Rong, nodding lightly. "This woman is not bad, but what is this guy doing?" Pointing his thick finger towards young Kai, a puzzled look appeared on his face as he asked, "He hasn't even reached the Saint Realm yet. What is he doing here? Is he trying to die?" He looked down on young Kai, as if he could kill young Kai with a single slap. Li Rong's expression suddenly became cold, her beautiful eyes flashing a cold light as she stared towards Earth-splitting Divine Ox. Anyone who dared to speak such words to young Kai, Li Rong would not give them any face. If it weren't for Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon being present, Li Rong would likely have already started a fight. Young Kai smiled indifferently, his expression remaining unchanged. Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon didn't have any intention of mediating, simply smiling and saying, "He really hasn't reached the Saint Realm, but if you look at him carefully, perhaps you'll find something interesting." "Something interesting?" Earth-splitting Divine Ox frowned, rubbing his chin as he unceremoniously circled around young Kai, his eyes scrutinizing him from top to bottom as his divine sense swept over him. Suddenly, Earth-splitting Divine Ox's face changed and he staggered back a few steps, his eyes overflowing with shock, as if he couldn't believe his eyes. "Did you notice?" Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon chuckled. "Who is he? How can he possess such pure demonic chi?" Earth-splitting Divine Ox asked in a low voice. This demonic chi was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was quite pure, even purer than the demonic chi of Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon and himself. To possess such pure demonic chi, one's bloodline must be extremely noble, one of the highest. However, young Kai was clearly a human, causing Earth-splitting Divine Ox to be confused. Chapter 902. I don't know. Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon shrugged his shoulders. It may be related to the beast soul skill he cultivates. Previously, Great Senior didn't quite understand why young Kai had monster chi, but after witnessing his beast soul skill a few days ago, he finally found a reasonable explanation. However, whether this was the reason or not, Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon wasn't sure. Beast soul skill? What kind of beast soul skill is that? Earth-splitting Divine Ox asked, his eyes widening. Show this old ox. He didn't seem to regard himself as an outsider, his character seemingly quite open-minded. Young Kai smiled lightly and didn't refuse, casually summoning his white tiger seal and divine ox seal. After seeing the majestic and lifelike white tiger and divine ox seals, this monster race Great Senior's eyes widened in an instant as he became extremely excited. Now that he was the only one left of the divine ox clan, feeling the aura of his ancestor from young Kai's beast soul skill, he was naturally very excited. Wrapping his arms around young Kai's shoulders, he patted young Kai's back with his palm leaf fan-like hands, affectionately saying, "Little one, come to this old bull's territory some other day, we must get to know each other better." Young Kai almost coughed up blood from this slap. Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon laughed. His beast soul skill does indeed contain the will of your ancestor. If you observe it carefully, it may be of great benefit to you, but this little brat is a bit greedy. Old ox, you should be prepared to be slaughtered, ha ha ha. Earth-splitting divine ox's face went black as he muttered a few words before letting go of Yang Kai. However, after listening to Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon's words, Yang Kai finally understood why the other party had suddenly changed his attitude and wanted to get closer to him. It turned out that he wanted to figure out the meaning of his beast soul skill. Thunder Dragon Great Senior deliberately said this to remind Yang Kai, not wanting him to be kept in the dark. Good, enough of this small talk. If you want to get closer, you can discuss it after this matter is over. Thunder Dragon Great Senior said solemnly, Old Ox, first let me introduce you. This little brat is the new Holy Master of Nine Heavens Holy Land, Yang Kai. Oh, you're the new Holy Master? Earth-splitting divine ox heard this and stared at Yang Kai with a dignified look. The lady beside him is his subordinate, Li Rong of the demon race. This time, we still have to rely on her power to decipher the mysteries within. Old cow, don't act recklessly when you enter later. Understood, Earth-splitting divine ox nodded firmly. Thunder Dragon Great Senior then turned to Yang Kai and asked with a serious expression, Boy, let me ask you again, are you sure you want to go inside and not wait for us to come out? You have to be clear that there are many dangers in there. If you really encounter any danger, old cow, and I might not be able to take care of you. At that time, you'll only be a burden to this madam beside you. The two of you might even suffer. Great sage, don't worry. I will take good care of myself. You don't need to worry about me. Thunder Dragon frowned, but seeing Yang Kai insist on going inside, he just sighed and didn't try to persuade him any further, simply nodding, then let's do as we say. Without saying anything more, Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting divine ox both stared towards the void crack 10 kilometers away without blinking, seemingly looking for the best opportunity to enter. The 1,000-meter-long void crack was like the maw of a ferocious beast and was extremely unstable. The energy fluctuations emanating from it were also extremely chaotic. If one didn't choose the right time to enter, it was likely they would be caught off guard. Yang Kai's divine sense also quietly extended in that direction, probing the void. Unlike the two monster race great seniors, Yang Kai's understanding of the mysteries of space was quite profound. He was able to tear through space himself and had spent a great deal of time in the void's turbulent streams. Soon, Yang Kai was surprised to find that behind the void crack, there seemed to be traces of turbulence. It was because of this turbulence that the entrance to the void crack was so unstable. His divine sense swept over like a tide. Like an invisible hand, it smoothed out the turbulent flows. Gradually, the unstable void crack stabilized. Thunder Dragon's eyes lit up and without hesitation shouted, "Let's go." Saying so, his figure flew towards the void crack. The others also hurriedly followed. A few breaths later, the group of 6 had all entered the void crack. Of the 6, except for Yang Kai who was a third-order transcendent, the remaining 5 were all saints. The two monster race great seniors had each brought a second-order saint with them as well as Li Rong. Thunder Dragon was naturally accompanied by Cai Dai while Earth-splitting Divine Ox was accompanied by a monster race master named Jin Ni. Yang Kai estimated that Jin Ni's true form should be a 9-nether golden beast as his entire body exuded an indestructible aura. The strength of this lineup showed just how much importance the two great seniors attached to this matter. After rushing into the void crack, everyone was surrounded by darkness. Probing with their divine senses, everyone felt as if they were in a quagmire, the illusion that the ground beneath their feet was muddy, dragging them down and dragging them down. From all directions, there was also a chaotic energy fluctuation that pressed down on them like a mountain. Arriving here, everyone was pushing their strength to resist the pressure from the outside world. Yang Kai, on the other hand, was not affected in the slightest as his eyes lit up. This was because he found that the situation here was exactly the same as the transitional space he entered after tearing the space apart. He had spent a lot of time here and was more familiar with the environment here than anyone else. "Old Ox, do you remember which direction we went the last time we entered?" Standing in place, Thunder Dragon Great Senior didn't dare to act rashly and asked. "How am I supposed to know? It's completely dark here and there's no point of reference." Old Ox has no sense of direction, so there's nothing he can do here, Earth-splitting Divine Ox shouted. What about Cai Dai and Jin Ni? Do you remember? Thunder Dragon asked the other two great seniors. Both of them shook their heads, indicating that they couldn't remember. The space here is very chaotic. Even if you remember the direction you went at that time, it's not necessarily the right one, anxiously, Yang Kai suddenly said. Hearing this, Thunder Dragon's heart sank. The last time he had come here, he had seen a bright entrance, and after entering that entrance, he had arrived at a strange place. He had thought that this time would be the same, but now it seemed the opposite was true. Just entering the void crack and encountering such a problem caused Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Divine Ox's expressions to become quite ugly, secretly feeling that this trip would be fraught with dangers and would not go smoothly. Follow me. Kai Yang suddenly beckoned to everyone, and without any explanation, he rushed off in a certain direction. Li Rong didn't say anything and immediately followed, wrapping Yang Kai in her demonic chi to protect his safety. The other four monster race masters froze for a moment and stood in place, not knowing whether they should believe Yang Kai or not. What do we do? Earth-splitting Divine Ox looked towards Thunder Dragon and asked, You are the one who brought him here, should we say something? It's not too late to retreat. Thunder Dragon Great Senior hesitated, unable to make a decision quickly. He didn't know where Yang Kai had found such confidence to rush off in that direction. The space here was indeed, as Yang Kai had said, very chaotic. If they couldn't find an exit, they might be trapped in this void for the rest of their lives, unable to find their way back. Say something. Earth-splitting Divine Ox was impatient, so seeing Thunder Dragon remain silent, he couldn't help urging. Follow. Thunder Dragon Great Senior grit his teeth. That little brat seems to be very confident, he must have discovered something. Saying so, he and Cai Dai both chased after Yang Kai. Earth-splitting Divine Ox wrinkled his nose, hesitated for a moment before also following, cursing, Damn it, if we die this time, it's all that bastard Thunder Dragon's fault. Yang Kai and Li Rong walked in front, deliberately slowing down. A moment later, the two monster race great seniors and their people caught up. Little brat, are you sure you'll succeed? Don't lead us to a dead end, Thunder Dragon asked worriedly. Haha, I'm just trying my luck, Yang Kai replied with a smile. Thunder Dragon's face went black, secretly feeling like he had been fooled, his intestines turning green with regret. However, with things having gotten to this point, it was impossible for him to return. The space here was constantly changing, making it impossible for him to find his way back. Following behind Yang Kai, Thunder Dragon prepared to follow this path to the end. But soon, he discovered a strange situation. The space here was very chaotic, as if countless fragments of space had been broken up and then overlapped with each other, filling the surroundings with a strange turbulence. However, wherever Yang Kai passed, this chaotic energy would all stabilize, allowing the group of 6 to walk on flat ground, no longer feeling any kind of traction or chaos. Thunder Dragon's eyes couldn't help lighting up, secretly feeling that Yang Kai wasn't just trying his luck but instead had a card up his sleeve, allowing him to act so unscrupulously. How did he know all this? The chaos here was something even 5 Saint Realm Masters were helpless about, so how could a mere third-order transcendent brat possibly do anything about? Following behind Yang Kai, through the faint light radiating from Li Rong's body, Thunder Dragon observed Yang Kai's expression, becoming more and more certain of his guess. After a stick of incense worth of time, Yang Kai suddenly stopped and turned his head to look to the side. What's wrong? Thunder Dragon's heart tightened as he asked. Are those people from your monster race? Yang Kai asked, pointing to the side. Everyone looked in the direction he was pointing, only to see countless pieces of flesh floating in the turbulence, as if they had been sliced by a sharp weapon. The cuts were extremely smooth. A faint smell of blood filled the air. They are this old Ox's people. Earth-splitting Divine Ox's expression became gloomy as he shouted, When we first entered this place a few days ago, Thunder Dragon and I lost a few of our men here. All of them were caught up in this strange turbulence and disappeared. But how did these bodies appear here? Thunder Dragon was puzzled. Like I said, the space here is very chaotic. You think the place you enter is always the same, but that's actually wrong. Yang Kai explained faintly, The place you entered last time should be near where we are now. Chapter 903. Earth-splitting divine ox heard this and couldn't help smiling. Then isn't the entrance nearby? It should be, Yang Kai nodded. Everyone glanced around, but none of them found the entrance they had encountered before. Just as they were feeling suspicious, Yang Kai waved his hand again, this way. Saying so, he turned around and walked towards the entrance. Thunder Dragon, this little brat looks quite relaxed. Has he been here before? Earth-splitting divine ox quietly asked. I don't know. Thunder Dragon shook his head slowly. Anyways, let's just follow him. I thought he was just here to hold us back, but now we'll have to rely on his strength. How interesting. Could it be that he was just a blind cat running into a dead mouse? Earth-splitting divine ox mused. Thunder Dragon glanced over at him but didn't say anything more, quickly keeping up with Yang Kai's pace. Because he had discovered that although Yang Kai was walking on flat ground, not long after he left, this sense of stability would collapse. If he didn't keep up, he would have to constantly use his strength to resist the pressure coming from his surroundings. Feeling the turbulence under their feet collapse, no one dared to relax. After about a stick of incense worth of time, a faint light suddenly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It's that in trance, Earth-splitting divine ox exclaimed, rushing past Yang Kai without any trace of politeness, disappearing in a flash. After him, Thunder Dragon Great Senior and Cai Dai also used their own methods to quickly pass through the entrance. Yang Kai and Li Rong continued to walk forward unhurriedly. Once they were close enough, Yang Kai sent his divine sense to investigate, and after confirming that there was no danger, he entered. Their vision blurred for a moment, and when their vision was restored, they found themselves in a strange space. There were no suns, moons, or stars above their heads, only a chaotic nothingness, like a thick black cloud. From time to time, there would be wisps of energy shuttling back and forth like snakes. This was the structure of a standard mysterious small world. However, Yang Kai frowned, feeling that this place was somewhat different from other mysterious small worlds. The four monster race masters who entered first waited for Yang Kai and Li Rong to arrive safely before withdrawing their gazes. Standing in this mysterious small world, Yang Kai glanced around, his brow furrowing even deeper. He found that this place was completely barren, without a trace of life, as if the entire mysterious small world was a desolate place. As far as the eye could see, the area around 1 mile in front of him was also a patch of grey. He couldn't see too far ahead. His divine sense was also restrained by an invisible force, so he couldn't see what was going on inside. Be careful, this place is very strange. When Old Ox and I arrived here before, we were forced to return after exploring less than 10 miles, Thunder Dragon Great Senior warned in a deep voice. There was no need for him to remind him. In such a strange place, he wouldn't act recklessly. This is the place where the demon's SS Thunder Dragon pointed to the front, a look of dread appearing on his face, but I advise you to only take a look, don't stare too long, otherwise you may die. Yang Kai was surprised and looked in the direction Thunder Dragon Great Senior was pointing. Sure enough, there was a stone pillar standing not far in front of them. This stone pillar seemed to have been placed here for many years, having experienced the passage of the flowing time Great Emperor, its surface was bumpy and uneven. This stone pillar was just an ordinary stone pillar, a material that could be found anywhere. However, the few demon characters engraved on it gave off a murderous aura. When Yang Kai looked at these characters, he clearly felt a cold murderous intent, causing him to shiver involuntarily. These demon characters were bold and powerful, obviously the work of a powerful master. However, the faint aura exuding from them caused Yang Kai to be surprised and stare at them for a while longer. After a short 3 breaths, the several demon characters seemed to have come to life and turned into sharp attacks that shot out from the stone pillar, rapidly enlarging in Yang Kai's eyes. Boy, you caught death. Thunder Dragon Great Senior's complexion changed greatly as he quickly pulled Yang Kai aside and stood in front of him. A huge burst of spiritual energy erupted from his body, causing the Great Senior to take a step back before stabilizing himself, a dignified expression on his face. Boy, didn't I tell you not to stare at it for too long? Thunder Dragon scolded. Yang Kai knew he was in the wrong, so he didn't say anything, just chuckling dryly as he exchanged a glance with Li Rong, seeing the surprise in each other's eyes. Although these demon characters had been engraved here for countless years, there was still a faint aura that belonged to the great demon god. Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon and Earth-Splitting Ox didn't recognize them, but Yang Kai and Li Rong definitely wouldn't mistake them. Moreover, a few words left behind after countless years were enough to cause the two monster race great seniors to treat them with such caution. In this world, besides the great demon god, there was likely no one else capable of such a feat. These words were definitely left behind by the great demon god. Yang Kai instantly confirmed. Being able to see the real work of the great demon god in his lifetime made Yang Kai somewhat surprised, but why would the great demon god come here? And why would he leave behind such words? Yang Kai suddenly realized that coming here this time was the right decision. Perhaps there would be some unexpected gains. Li Rong also had an eager expression, obviously very interested in the mysteries of this place. "Don't look at it again," Thunder Dragon sternly ordered. Seeing Yang Kai's obedient appearance, he thought he had learned his lesson and quickly said, "The murderous intent contained in those words is something even Old Ox and I don't dare underestimate. You're just a little brat at the third-order transcendent realm. If you stare at it for even a moment longer, you'll immediately die." Ien, I understand," Yang Kai nodded repeatedly. "I really don't know who left behind this handwriting, but this kind of method is really quite sensational," Earth-Splitting Ox sighed. "Although this king doesn't know who this person is, he is certain to be a powerful master from the demon race, most likely the legendary great demon god." Thunder Dragon frowned and made a bold guess. He had hit the nail on the head and guessed correctly. "Let's go forward and see what mysteries are hidden up ahead." Thunder Dragon waved his hand and volunteered to lead the way. The last time he and Earth-Splitting Ox had entered this place, after passing through the stone pillar, they had walked less than 10 kilometers before encountering some dangers and retreating cautiously. Thinking that Yang Kai had some masters from the demon race around him, Thunder Dragon Great Senior asked Cai Dai to invite Yang Kai over. Although having an additional Saint Realm master wasn't necessarily enough to completely avoid danger, if they encountered any demon characters they couldn't understand, Li Rong would be able to help them in time. Along the way, Thunder Dragon explained the situation he and Earth-Splitting Ox encountered last time, intentionally or unintentionally asking, "Boy, what do you think of this place?" "I don't know anything about it," Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders. "If there's anything you know, just say it, don't try to hide it." It seemed that because of Yang Kai's strange behavior in the void crack before, Thunder Dragon was a little concerned about his thoughts and opinions. He secretly felt that this little brat might have been here before. On this point, Thunder Dragon was wrong. Yang Kai was only able to find the correct path through the void crack because he was familiar with the void's turbulent current, so he really knew nothing about this strange, mysterious small world. "If I know anything, I'll definitely say it," Yang Kai nodded. After walking for about 10 kilometers or so, Thunder Dragon suddenly stopped and pointed forward. "Last time, Old Ox and I retreated from here. This place is so strange, I really wonder what kind of energy is hidden here." Earth-Splitting Ox also shook his head and muttered. Looking forward, Yang Kai's face couldn't help changing. The road ahead seemed to be cut off all of a sudden, and the group of 6 arrived at the edge of a cliff. Below this cliff, there was a strange turquoise sea that seemed to contain some kind of inexplicable power that was extremely viscous. Bursts of ghostly wails and howls rang out from the bottom of the cliff, giving off a gloomy atmosphere that caused one's heart to tremble. Standing at the edge of the cliff and looking down, one could clearly see distorted and ferocious human faces bobbing up and down in the green and viscous sea. They struggled and wriggled, but were unable to break free from the pull of the green sea. Bubbles bubbled up from below, rising to the top and bursting with muffled sounds. Cai Dai's face couldn't help going pale. Thunder Dragon and Earth-Splitting Ox's expressions were also very dignified as they secretly condensed their strength to resist the unwillingness and humiliation coming from the turquoise sea. These disturbing grievances were all being emitted by these strange faces, constantly creating an invisible impact on the group of 6. "Let me remind you, it's best not to use your divine sense to investigate below," Thunder Dragon said solemnly. "If I'm not mistaken, those floating faces down there are all soul avatars." "Soul avatars?" Yang Kai paled. "Yes. Thunder Dragon nodded heavily. A human face is the sole avatar of a master. I don't know why it was exiled here. The last time I came here, I accidentally released my divine sense to investigate and was almost dragged in by them. Speaking of this experience, Thunder Dragon's face filled with lingering fear. Many of these people were masters not inferior to me when they were alive. Their soul avatars were extremely powerful, and although I don't know where their physical bodies were destroyed, their soul avatars were imprisoned here. Once they were infected, none of them could escape and would eventually become one of them. You're saying that many of them were masters not inferior to you when they were alive? Yang Kai was stunned. Chapter 904. If we continue forward, we can only follow those stone platforms, Thunder Dragon Great Senior said as he looked up again. There was no path left to the left or right of the cliff, and in front of them was the strange green sea, but at the same time, there were several large stone platforms suspended mid-air. Like stone stairs, each one was higher than the one before, stretching far into the distance with no end in sight. Above the dark green ocean, gusts of fierce and strange wind blew. It seemed to be mixed with some special power, which made people not dare to fly in the air easily. Should we continue? Earth-splitting Divine Ox asked hesitantly, not knowing whether or not they should continue to explore. Although there was a path made up of stone platforms in front of them, no one could guarantee that there wouldn't be more dangers behind them. Since we're already here, this king won't go back until we get to the bottom of this, Thunder Dragon Great Senior said in a deep voice, then stepped onto the first stone platform and walked up. Cai Dai followed closely behind without hesitation. Boy, you follow Thunder Dragon, Old Ox will bring up the rear, Earth-splitting Divine Ox said kindly to Yang Kai. Yang Kai nodded and together with Li Rong, he also stepped towards the stone platform. The stone platforms weren't too far apart and could be reached by simply raising their feet, forming a staircase that seemed to lead straight to the blue sky, leading deep into the endless void. Lei Long walked very slowly. As he walked, he vigilantly observed his surroundings in case any danger suddenly appeared. He was extremely cautious. After walking up about 100 steps of the stone platform, nothing out of the ordinary happened, so the group couldn't help but relax a lot. But it wasn't long before the numerous floating faces in the jade-green ocean below suddenly emitted violent howls, and they struggled free of the restraints of the viscous seawater before pouncing over like resentful spirits while baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, causing them to be extremely terrifying and shocking. Countless soul avatars broke free from the shackles of the seawater at this moment and, like cats that had smelled fish, charged straight towards Yang Kai's group. The cries of ghosts and howls became louder and louder as a gust of cold wind blew, and the transparent soul avatars flew towards them from all directions. Everyone's expression changed. They didn't know why such an unforeseen event would happen. In the blink of an eye, the stone platform where the 6 soul avatars were standing was surrounded by these soul avatars, and a terrifying spiritual energy burst out from these soul avatars one after another, densely packed together. Even Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Divine Ox, at this moment, couldn't help feeling as if their wills were being crushed, nearly losing their ability to move. With a roar, Thunder Dragon Great Senior's body flickered with arcs of lightning, instantly forming a cyan light curtain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The light of the lightning illuminated the world, and the divine sense attacks caused the cyan light to ripple. In just a moment, it showed signs of collapsing. Earth-splitting Divine Ox also released a layer of earth-yellow light as he joined forces with Thunder Dragon Great Senior to resist the attacks coming from all directions. The multicolored butterflies fluttered in the air, releasing a brilliant 7-colored light that shot out like arrows, preventing the soul avatars from approaching. Li Rong and Jin Ni also did their best to display their own means. However, the power released by these soul avatars was mixed with a despairing aura that shrouded everyone's hearts, causing them to panic. Let's go. Thunder Dragon roared, his speed suddenly increasing. The other 5 also followed one by one, crossing the stone platforms as fast as they could. *PU*. Although the defensive barrier created by the 2 great seniors was powerful, it still couldn't withstand so many attacks, and after advancing about 300 meters, it shattered. The soul avatars flying around became more and more violent as they rushed over like a swarm of locusts. These soul avatars, who had lost their minds and were reduced to monsters, seemed to understand the principle of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Seeing how tyrannical Thunder Dragon and the others were, they actually targeted Yang Kai, who hadn't taken action yet and was the weakest of them all. The transparent soul avatars flew over, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. Although some of them were blocked by the combined efforts of everyone present, a few still managed to reach Yang Kai. These soul avatars pounced straight towards him, imprinted themselves into his body, and disappeared. Master. Li Rong's beautiful face paled as she desperately rushed towards Yang Kai, not even caring about the soul avatars in front of her. A bolt of lightning shot out from the front and resolved Li Rong's crisis, but it couldn't save Yang Kai from the fate of being invaded by these soul avatars. In an instant, Yang Kai's expression became extremely pained, his eyes turning blood red as he shuddered all over. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines, knowing that he was being affected by the resentment of these soul avatars. Each of these soul avatars was a master when they were alive, their strength at least at the Saint Realm. After being trapped in this green sea for countless years, their souls had not been destroyed, so the resentment and despair they had produced was not something a cultivator like Yang Kai could resist. Perhaps his soul had already been erased and his body occupied by these soul avatars. Thunder Dragon was also stunned for a moment, not knowing how to deal with the situation in front of him. At that moment, Yang Kai's eyes flashed a brilliant light, as if he had just been released, relaxing greatly. Letting out a heavy breath, he shouted with some lingering fear, "Hurry up and leave, what are you waiting for?" You're all right?" Thunder Dragon asked in amazement. Yang Kai's soul avatar had rushed into his body in an instant, and his recovery had also happened in an instant. All of this had happened so fast that no one had been able to react. Thunder Dragon couldn't understand how Yang Kai was able to remain unscathed. There had been more than one or two soul avatars that had entered his body. "If you don't leave now, everyone will be in trouble," Yang Kai said solemnly. Thunder Dragon didn't ask any further questions and immediately used all his strength to open up a path in front of them. Arcs of lightning shot out from his body, forcing the soul avatars not to get too close as they strode forward, crossing one stone platform after another. Li Rong followed closely behind Yang Kai, resisting the soul avatars while quietly observing Yang Kai. A moment later, her beautiful eyes lit up as she finally understood why Yang Kai was safe and sound. Inside his knowledge sea, there was still great demon god's demon eye of annihilation. The golden light of the demon eye of annihilation was the most effective against souls. Those soul avatars that dared to rush into Yang Kai's body were simply seeking their own deaths. After this incident, the soul avatars seemed to instinctively feel the danger and no longer dared to approach the group of 6, only hovering nearby while letting out a burst of unwilling howls. Thunder Dragon and the others were puzzled, but they still easily crossed the stone platform. After the time it would take to burn a stick of incense, everyone stepped onto the stone platform and into the chaotic void. Stepping down from the last stone platform, everyone's expression became one of shock. This was because this wasn't some chaotic and empty sky at all. Instead, it was another piece of land. Just like when they first entered this place, not a single blade of grass grew under their feet. It was very desolate. Above their heads, however, was an expanse of brilliance. The brilliance overflowed with multicolored light. All kinds of strange lights flew past like arrows leaving the bowstring, as fast as meteors. It was as if they were within reach, but also impossible to detect. What a strange place. Earth-splitting divine ox shook his head. Thunder Dragon carefully released his divine sense to investigate, and after confirming that there was no danger around, he said, "Let's rest for a while." When crossing the stone platforms just now, everyone had consumed a huge amount of their strength, so in this kind of dangerous place, it was natural to maintain their peak state. Thunder Dragon Great Senior didn't dare to act carelessly. No one had any objections and all sat down cross-legged to restore their spirit and physical strength. The two Great Seniors gathered together and began discussing something in low voices, both of them intentionally or unintentionally glancing towards Yang Kai. Although they were meditating with their eyes closed, their observation still couldn't escape Yang Kai's perception. Opening his eyes, Yang Kai grinned and asked, "Two Great Seniors, Do you suspect that Junior has been possessed? Thunder Dragon frowned and no longer tried to hide anything, nodding. Old Ox and I both have such a guess, but from the tone of your voice, it seems you haven't been possessed by those soul avatars. Of course not, Kai nodded. What evidence do you have to prove this? Thunder Dragon asked. Boy, this king really doesn't understand what method you used to resist the attack of those soul avatars. If you can't prove that you are still the same person as before, this king will have to seal your strength. I hope you understand. How does Great Senior want me to prove it? Kai frowned. It was natural for Thunder Dragon and the others to have such concerns, so he didn't feel wronged. Anything that can prove you are still the same person is fine. There's no need to prove it. I can guarantee that he is still master. I won't make a mistake about who I serve, Li Rong said from the side. Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Divine Ox glanced at each other, then at Kai and then at Li Rong, nodding after a long time. Good, we believe in this lady's vision. To be honest, we also don't want to see you being possessed. Two great seniors have good intentions, I understand, Kai gently nodded. With this matter concluded, everyone continued to restore themselves. Half a day later, the group continued to explore. After passing through the Green Sea, everyone seemed to have arrived at a new world. From time to time, meteor-like streaks of light would flash across the sky, so fast that no one could catch them. However, to everyone's surprise, after walking for a long time, they didn't find anything unusual, let alone anything of note. Everyone felt as if they were walking on a never-ending path. They couldn't find a way out, nor could they see a way back. This strange sense of permanence caused everyone's hearts to gradually sink to the bottom. Time passed by, and after an unknown amount of time passed, no one had discovered anything. Earth-splitting Divine Ox, who was the most hot-tempered of the group, had become very impatient, constantly cursing and swearing all day long. Thunder Dragon Great Senior also had a look of regret. If he had known this would be the case, he wouldn't have come here to explore. Now, even if he wanted to return, he couldn't find his way back and could only continue forward, hoping to find something special. Chapter 905. None of the four monster race masters were in a good mood, but Kai and Li Rong were filled with anticipation. When they entered this place, they had already determined that this place was related to Great Demon God, so naturally, they wouldn't be discouraged halfway through. Since they hadn't found anything yet, it was likely they hadn't reached the right place yet. Once they reached that specific place, they would definitely find some clues. Kai and Li Rong were both filled with confidence. On this day, as they were walking through the boundless world, Kai suddenly noticed an unusual aura coming from behind him. Turning his head in amazement, Kai happened to see Li Rong staring up at the sky, a thoughtful look flashing across her beautiful eyes as the strength in her tender body pulsed, sending out a powerful fluctuation. A strange light flashed across the horizon and Li Rong's tender body shook, her beautiful eyes lighting up as the energy fluctuations coming from her body became even more violent. Thunder Dragon, who was leading the way, also came to a halt and turned around, a look of surprise flashing across his face. Kai's expression also changed. At first, he didn't understand what was happening to Li Rong, but after seeing her pretty face glow, he suddenly realized something and muttered, "Epiphany?" Not daring to disturb her, Kai quickly waved to Earth-splitting Ox and Jin Ni, who were covering the rear. The two monster race masters also tactfully walked over and put some distance between them and Li Rong. She's on the verge of a breakthrough. Thunder Dragon stared at Li Rong with scorching eyes, confirming Kai's observation and speculation. Li Rong was now a second-order saint and had been stuck in this realm for many years. When Kai brought the ancient demon clan out of Demon God Citadel and set foot on Tongxian realm, all the ancient demon clan members had more or less gained some improvement in their strength. Han Fei and Hua Mo had even broken through a minor realm because of this. At that time, although Li Rong had also gained some improvement in her strength, it wasn't enough for her to break through. But today, she obviously felt something and was finally on the verge of breaking through the shackles that had shackled her. If she broke through, she would be a third-order saint. That was the highest level in this world. Perceiving this, Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Ox couldn't help feeling excited. Kai grinned, silently excited. The stronger Li Rong was, the more help she would be to him. The next time he encountered that woman Xue Li, Yang Kai, she would never be able to escape from Li Rong's hands again. Li Rong's Li Rong was Xue Li, so after she broke through to the third TSSST, she was. I'll have to trouble you to wait here for a while. Yang Kai turned to the two monster race great seniors. It doesn't matter, we won't be able to find anything for the time being anyway, so let's just rest here. Thunder Dragon smiled slightly and said thoughtfully, but why would she break through at this time? Did she discover something beneficial to her growth? Earth-splitting Ox thought for a while before saying, I've seen her stare at the sky these past few days. Could it be that there is some kind of mystery hidden in those flashing lights? The sky? Lei Long said, also looking up at the sky. Seeing the strange lights flying away like meteors, he nodded after a while. It's also possible. When one's strength has reached her level, often, an inadvertent discovery can greatly enhance one's strength. Then this old ox should also take a look. Perhaps I can become even stronger. When that time comes, Thunder Dragon, you should bow your head. Earth-splitting Ox's interest was piqued and he immediately sat down cross-legged, his pair of eyes staring towards the sky, not even blinking for a moment. Thunder Dragon Grand Venerable laughed dumbly but didn't stop him. Instead, he followed Earth-splitting Ox's example and sat down cross-legged, preparing to comprehend the secrets hidden in those strange lights. Li Rong could discover something from them, so they might as well. Since they had no choice but to wait, naturally they had to give it a try. Cai Dai and Jin Ni also sat down, not wanting to be outdone. Yang Kai shook his head and ignored them, closing his eyes and meditating. Li Rong's epiphany lasted for a long time. Although there was no way to calculate the passage of time, Yang Kai estimated that it had taken at least 10 days. During this time, Li Rong stood in place, motionless, her beautiful eyes staring at the strange lights passing by in the sky, growing brighter and brighter. Finally, her delicate body trembled, and a violent energy was released from her body, forming a gust of wind. With her as the center, it spread out in all directions with a loud bang. The aura of a third-order saint overflowed from Li Rong's body. High up in the sky, a massive amount of world energy condensed, forming a terrifying world energy that shot towards Li Rong, who was at the center. With a muffled groan, Li Rong remained motionless, only allowing her body to bear this baptism of world energy. Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Divine Ox's expressions became extremely serious. Both of them had experienced this stage before and knew just how terrifying and difficult it was to resist the world energy when breaking through to this stage. At that time, both of them had transformed into their true forms and used their powerful monster beast physique to resist this destructive force, but even so, they had still suffered some serious sword wounds that took a long time to recover. However, Li Rong was just a woman, yet she was even crazier than they had been at that time, causing the eyes of the two great seniors to almost pop out of their sockets. The world energy continued to fall, causing Li Rong to bleed from the corner of her mouth as her tender body trembled, seemingly unable to bear it, but she still grit her teeth and continued to absorb as much of the world energy as possible with her body, transforming it into nutrients for her own strength. As time passed, the 4 monster race masters who were watching from the sidelines were all on edge, Cai Dai biting her thin lip as she clenched her fists tightly, secretly worrying for Li Rong. Boy, this isn't good. Thunder Dragon suddenly leaned over and whispered in Yang Kai's ear, if she continues like this, she'll be destroyed by the world energy. Earth-splitting Divine Ox nodded, my monster race's physique is the hardest in the world, even Thunder Dragon and I wouldn't dare absorb the world energy without any precaution. Her actions are tantamount to digging her own grave. Li Rong not resisting the world energy at all, instead opening her body and mind to it, naturally causing the two great seniors to tremble in fear. Haha, don't worry, she'll be able to bear it. Yang Kai smiled lightly, not showing any signs of worry. Thunder Dragon looked at him strangely, not understanding why he had so much confidence in Li Rong. If such a good subordinate were to fall here, you won't even have a place to cry, Earth-splitting Divine Ox reminded. She knows what she's doing. Yang Kai shook his head, no longer explaining. Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Divine Ox glanced at each other and didn't say anything, instead turning to stare at Li Rong suspiciously, wanting to see how she would withstand the upcoming baptism of annihilation. As time passed, the intensity of the world energy grew stronger and stronger, each strike causing the world to tremble. Li Rong also began to lose her footing, as if she might die at any moment. But she still stood there, motionless. The four monster race masters all stared in shock. Regardless of anything else, the fact that she dared to face it head-on was enough to shock all of them. The world energy gathering in the sky calmed down for a while, but it only became more and more violent, as if it was preparing for its final blow. Li Zhu's expression finally became dignified as her beautiful eyes stared towards the sky. Hong. The world trembled as a destructive force fell from the sky and enveloped Li Rong, causing everyone's expression to change greatly. At this moment, everyone's heart skipped a beat as they stared intently at Li Rong's position. However, her beautiful figure still stood in place, and although she was trembling, she stood firm. Gradually, the violent power converged, as if it was being absorbed by Li Rong's tender body. The wind that had been stirred up and the rubble that had been sent flying from the ground also fell to the ground. A pair of bright eyes slowly opened, flashing with a strange light. Li Rong stepped forward, gasping for breath, her chest heaving up and down. This earth-splitting divine ox was speechless as he stared blankly at the approaching woman. Thunder Dragon Great Senior's eyes also narrowed as he stared at Li Rong's face. At this moment, her pretty face was covered with strange dark lines that converged to form an inexplicable spirit array. As Li Rong approached, these lines gradually disappeared and the monstrous aura emanating from her body rapidly fell. Seemingly thinking of something, Thunder Dragon Great Senior's expression changed slightly as he stared at Li Rong with a dignified expression. After arriving in front of everyone, Li Rong stood still and smiled towards Yang Kai. Her aura was as deep as the sea, the light in her beautiful eyes was restrained, and her skin was crystal clear like jade, exuding a gentle luster, as white as a newborn baby. Her strength had undergone a tremendous change. "Master, I've broken through to the Third Order Saint Realm," Li Rong calmly reported the good news to Yang Kai. "Good," Yang Kai nodded heavily. "This trip wasn't in vain. Many thanks for waiting here." Li Rong nodded lightly to the monster race crowd. "A minor matter, not worth mentioning." Thunder Dragon Great Senior waved his hand. "I must also congratulate Madam for successfully setting foot on this territory." Li Rong smiled and said humbly, "In the future, I'll have to ask 2 great seniors to give me some pointers." "No need to be so serious. If Madam has free time in the future, feel free to come to my Thunder Tree Palace so we can exchange pointers." Thunder Dragon Great Senior nodded slightly. Li Rong had broken through to the Third Order Saint Realm and was now in existence on the same level as him, so naturally she was qualified to exchange cultivation insights with him. What a pity. This old ox has been sitting here for a long time yet still hasn't found anything special, let alone an epiphany. Earth-splitting divine ox shook his head, obviously a little dissatisfied, suddenly saying, "But you're quite amazing, absorbing the power of heaven and earth with your body alone. This is the first time I've seen such a thing. What were those lines that crawled up your face just now? Why is it that when those things appeared, I felt that your aura and chi and blood power had increased tremendously?" Hearing him ask this, Li Rong turned her eyes to Yang Kai, not knowing how to answer. Yang Kai also felt a bit awkward, but just as he was hesitating, Thunder Dragon suddenly shouted, "Why are you inquiring about other people's secrets? Old ox, you talk too much." Earth-splitting divine ox grinned meaningfully. "I was just asking casually. If you don't want to answer then don't. I was just curious." Chapter 906. "I think we might be lost." Lei Long suddenly stopped and said with a bitter expression. In this grey world, it was impossible to see too far and even one's divine sense couldn't be extended, so the group of 6 stood in place, unable to move forward. It had been a long time since Li Rong broke through to the Third Order Saint Realm. No one knew exactly how long it had been, only that during this time, Li Rong's cultivation had been thoroughly stabilized. Without a clear direction or goal, everyone could only follow their heart, leading to them having no idea where they were. Hearing Thunder Dragon say this, Earth-splitting divine ox asked suspiciously, "The scenery here is the same, how do you know we're lost?" "Look over there." Thunder Dragon Great Senior pointed to a spot not far away and everyone followed his finger, quickly discovering a set of bones left behind in the wasteland. We passed by here a few days ago, but for some reason, we ended up back here. This set of bones is the best proof of that. Yang Kai raised his brow and also remembered. When he saw this set of bones last time, he hadn't paid much attention to it, but if Thunder Dragon's observation was correct, everyone may have really taken a big detour around this area before returning to this place. No way, what do we do now? Earth-splitting Divine Ox was stunned. How did we get lost? I don't know, all of you think of a good way to get us out of here first. Even if we don't explore the mysteries of this place, we still need to find a way back, right? We've been here for a long time now. You lead the way. If you can't find a way, what can we do? Earth-splitting Divine Ox shouted. It's not this king's fault. Do you still want to blame this king? Thunder Dragon Great Senior snorted. It had been a long time since they arrived here, and besides Li Rong, who had obtained some kind of opportunity and broken through to the Third Order Saint Realm, everyone else had gained nothing, so the two great seniors were naturally not in a good mood. Seeing that they seemed to be about to quarrel, Yang Kai hurriedly tried to calm them down. Calm down, no one expected this place to be so strange before we came here. Now that something has happened, there's no need to blame each other, we need to find a solution. How do we solve this? Did you notice anything special? Lei Long looked at Yang Kai and asked. Yang Kai shook his head. In my opinion, this place should be a maze set up by someone. Li Rong pondered and said, the bones here should be the result of the cultivator who accidentally entered this place and was trapped here. I think so too. Lei Long nodded. During this period of time, from time to time, they would come across one or two sets of remains. They should be the remains of those cultivator who accidentally entered this place after they died. Who set up the maze? Earth-splitting Divine Ox's eyes bulged. Who arranged this bewildering array that even 3 third-order saints couldn't break? Even if one didn't understand spirit arrays, a third-order saint would be able to see through the illusions at a glance, but none of the masters here had noticed anything strange about this spirit array from beginning to end, so it was obvious that the person who arranged this spirit array was quite skilled. This king feels more and more that this place may have something to do with the legendary great demon god, Lei Long said in a low voice. Besides him, no one can accomplish this. Yang Kai and Li Rong glanced at each other and remained silent. Should we split up and find a way out? Cai Dai hesitantly suggested. Both Lei Long and Yang Kai shook their heads, the former saying, this place is too strange, it's best not to split up, otherwise we may never find each other again. This time we were really unlucky, this old ox won't enter any mysterious small world again, Earth-splitting Divine Ox said angrily. Yang Kai smiled bitterly and shook his head, but as he was contemplating, he suddenly noticed a message from the divine tree. His brow furrowed, Yang Kai quietly informed Li Rong before sinking his consciousness into the black book space. What's wrong? Yang Kai asked, not knowing why the divine tree would suddenly call him at this time. There's something strange here, the divine tree replied. Is it those 2 black stones again? Saying so, Yang Kai turned to look at the 2 black round stones and found that they were still the same, constantly absorbing the essence of the other ores, the fluorescent lines on their surface becoming more and more obvious. It's not them, it's something else. Just wait and see, you'll know soon enough. The divine tree replied. Yang Kai didn't ask any more questions and simply waited quietly. A moment later, somewhere in the black book space, a ray of light suddenly flashed. Achem! Yang Kai couldn't help feeling strange, quickly sending his divine sense to the spot where the light flashed, but after discovering what it was, he was stunned. Yang Kai had a general idea of the things stored in the black book space, the most precious of which was the myriad drug milk series, the divine tree, and the shimmering moongrass he had previously obtained. Many of the artifacts he had obtained during his previous life experiences were also stored here, but the value of those artifacts wasn't great, so Yang Kai hadn't paid them much attention. In addition, there were only the 2 strange black round stones and the ores he obtained from the star field. At this moment, however, the thing that was flashing was something Yang Kai had never expected. The Heavenly Palace. The mysterious artifact that belonged to Meng Wu Ya. In the past, when the Yang family launched the Inheritance War, at the final moment, The ash-grey cloud evil land launched a massive invasion, and demon Lord Yang Bai led the 6 great evil kings to storm War City. In an instant, War City was plunged into an abyss of misery, turning it into a ghost town. Among the ruins, only Yang Kai's mansion remained intact, unaffected by the disaster. All of this was thanks to this artifact that Meng Wu Yue had taken out. The heavenly palace transformed into a barrier that enveloped Yang Kai's mansion, rendering Yang Bai and the evil kings, who were at the peak of their strength at that time, helpless. After that, there was the final battle beneath the central capital. Yang Bai died tragically and the earth vein exploded. At that critical moment, Meng Wu Yue took Xia Ningchang and Su Yang through the void corridor and returned to Tongxian realm. The heavenly palace was left behind in Yang Kai's mansion and was eventually taken into the Black Book space by Yang Kai. Because this was Meng Wu Yue's artifact, Yang Kai had never intended to refine it, nor erase its soul brand and life mark, planning to return it to Meng Wu Yue when they met. It had been in the Black Book space for many years now, and if not for the Divine Tree's reminder today, Yang Kai would have almost forgotten about it. Why was the heavenly palace flashing? Although the frequency was very slow, it was indeed flashing, as if it was responding to something from afar. After contemplating for a while, Yang Kai's brow furrowed as he thought of a possibility he wasn't certain about. Meng Wu Yue was also here, and even if he wasn't, he must have been here before. The heavenly palace was his artifact and contained his soul brand, so if there was Meng Wu Yue's aura here, the heavenly palace's reaction could be explained. Yes, according to the information Yang Kai had inquired about, it was possible to infer that Meng Wu Yue had taken Xia Ningchang and Su Yang to Ice Sect, then entrusted Su Yang to Ice Sect's sect master Qing Yue before disappearing. Soon after, the master and disciple duo appeared in Nine Heavens Holy Land. Nine Heavens Holy Land wasn't far from here, so if Meng Wu Yue had come here for some reason, then going to Nine Heavens Holy Land was just a matter of passing by and not specifically to visit the old Holy Master. Everything could be explained. The more Yang Kai thought about it, the more he felt his guess was correct and couldn't help feeling excited. If Meng Wu Yue was here, it meant that his little senior sister was also here. Li Rong called out softly at that moment, causing Yang Kai's consciousness to return to his body, his eyes shining brightly. Thunder Dragon Great Senior observed Yang Kai's expression for a moment before asking, "Boy, did you discover something?" "I don't know." Yang Kai grinned and quickly took out the heavenly palace from the Black Book space, placing it on his palm. "I don't know if this counts as a discovery or not." "An artifact?" Thunder Dragon frowned as he carefully examined the heavenly palace. "The shape of this artifact is quite strange. It's actually shaped like a palace, very similar to an artifact I know of." Yang Kai stared at him blankly. "Which one?" "An artifact owned by a human race master. Unfortunately he died a few hundred years ago, so there's no need to mention it." Thunder Dragon waved his hand. At first, he didn't care much about this artifact, but after using his divine sense to investigate it, his expression changed dramatically. "How did this artifact?" This artifact was extremely high-grade, most likely a saint-grade high-rank artifact, and the aura it exuded didn't belong to Yang Kai, instead belonging to someone else. This faint aura was rich and mellow, so Thunder Dragon could conclude that the owner of this artifact must have been a top master. "Is this the heavenly palace?" Thunder Dragon's expression became solemn as he asked, somewhat unsure. Artifacts shaped like palaces were not common, and this one's grade was not low, so Thunder Dragon immediately thought of a possibility. It couldn't be such a coincidence, right? Thunder Dragon Great Senior's expression became dignified. Yang Kai raised his brow. "Great Senior knows? Is this really the heavenly palace?" Thunder Dragon's body shook as he stared at Yang Kai incredulously. "Boy, where did you get this thing?" "Thunder Dragon, is this artifact very amazing?" Earth-splitting Divine Ox asked curiously. Thunder Dragon Great Senior let out a light sigh. "This artifact isn't that important. What's important is that its original owner was." "Who was its owner?" Earth-splitting Divine Ox didn't seem to be as knowledgeable as Thunder Dragon and knew very little about the heavenly palace. Its owner was the #1 master of the human race, Meng Wu Yue. Thunder Dragon shouted as he stared towards Yang Kai, seemingly wanting to know if Yang Kai had anything to do with Meng Wu Yue. Earth-splitting Divine Ox scratched his head. Old Ox seems to have heard of this name before. Of course you have, Thunder Dragon snorted. Do you remember Bloodflood Dragon Great Senior? Of course I remember, Earth-Splitting Divine Ox nodded. Earth-Splitting Divine Ox nodded heavily. Before Old Ox achieved human form, Bloodflood Dragon Great Senior's name shook the entire monster race, but later he died for some unknown reason. Right, Thunder Dragon, you were one of Bloodflood Dragon Great Senior's subordinates, right? Old Ox has some impression of you. However, this artifact did not belong to Yang Kai, so it couldn't display its full power. This was more than enough. As the Yuan Qi poured into the heavenly palace, it began to tremble, and Yang Kai immediately noticed that this artifact was about to fly out of his hand. Immediately, Yang Kai shouted, "Follow me." Holding the heavenly palace in his hand and sensing the direction it wanted to fly, Yang Kai rushed forward. Everyone followed closely behind. As they flew, Yang Kai's mood fluctuated. He wasn't sure if Meng Wu Ya was here, but it was possible that he had come here, left a trace, and then left. If that was the case, then this time he still wouldn't be able to find him and his little senior sister. However, this was still a clue and a ray of hope. Su Yang and Yang Kai had already found the old demon, so he wasn't worried. As long as he could find Xia Ning Chang, his purpose for coming to Tongxian Realm would have been achieved. It had been more than 10 years since he left the central capital and came to this world. During these 10 years, his strength had undergone earth-shaking changes, but there was always one thing on his mind that made him sigh whenever he thought about it. Once I find Meng Wu Ya, I'll definitely pluck that old hooligan's beard clean. Yang Kai secretly swore to himself as he spared no effort in sprinting forward. After an unknown amount of time, some changes suddenly appeared in Yang Kai's grey field of vision. There seemed to be something standing in front of him. At this point, the light emitted by the heavenly palace also became much stronger. Yang Kai's spirit shook and he rushed forward without hesitation, but after seeing what it was, he couldn't help frowning. The other 5 also stood still and stared forward with dignified expressions. About 10 meters away from the group stood a stone pillar. This stone pillar was so tall that it seemed to reach into the sky and was so thick that 3 people could wrap their arms around it. On the stone pillar, there were a few large characters written in demon script, just like the ones everyone had seen when they first entered. Li Rong, what's written on it? Yang Kai hurriedly asked. Li Rong glanced at it for a moment before immediately withdrawing her gaze, not daring to stare any longer, quickly replying, Tongxian Pillar. Tongxian Pillar? Yang Kai frowned, not knowing what these words meant. However, there was indeed an extraordinary power surging within the stone pillar. This power was so strong that it made everyone tremble with fear. Following the heavenly palace's guidance, they didn't find Meng Wu Ya, but instead found such a strange stone pillar, causing everyone's heart to sink. However, Yang Kai could still feel the heavenly palace's pulling force, still guiding them forward. Let's go. No matter what, we've left that maze. Yang Kai comforted. The 5 nodded lightly and continued to follow. Moving forward, everyone was on high alert, afraid of encountering any sudden danger. Half an hour later, Yang Kai suddenly slowed down his pace and sniffed the air, asking, "Do you feel anything wrong?" "Blood stench." Lei Long immediately replied, his eyes scanning the surroundings with vigilance, "There's a blood stench here. Ian, it seems to be getting stronger." Yang Kai nodded. "Wait, there's some movement." Lei Long shouted. Everyone quickly stopped and listened attentively. Some subtle sounds came from afar, like the sound of rolling waves and the ebb and flow of tides. The speed at which the sound was approaching was extremely fast, and in just a moment, it had already arrived in front of everyone. Looking around, the originally grey world in front of them now contained some dark red light. Gradually, the dark red light became more and more intense, and the sound of the tide also became clearer. The entire world instantly became as red as fresh blood. "Not good." Thunder Dragon Great Senior shouted as he hurriedly circulated his strength, causing arcs of lightning to flash from his body as a blue light curtain enveloped everyone. At the same time, in front of them, a thick and boundless blood-red liquid surged forward like a dam bursting, instantly engulfing the group of 6. A strong smell of blood filled everyone's nose, and as far as their eyes could see, all they could see was a thick blood-red liquid. Everyone felt as if they had suddenly fallen into a monstrous sea of blood, losing their sense of direction and unable to find a way out. The red blood mist was pervasive and penetrated through Thunder Dragon Great Senior's defensive power. The heavenly palace in Yang Kai's hand was only slightly stained by this blood mist before its light dimmed significantly. Without hesitation, Yang Kai quickly put the heavenly palace into the black book space. *ci lolo, *, a burst of light sounds came from all directions as the blood mist that had penetrated their bodies seemed to contain a strong corrosive property, causing everyone's skin to emit this strange sound as if they were in extreme pain. Yang Kai grit his teeth and pushed his strength to resist the invasion of the blood mist, his yuan qi flowing away like water. "What the hell is this?" Earth-splitting Divine Ox shouted, a yellow light enveloping his body, but under the corrosion of the blood mist, this light quickly dimmed and he was forced to exert more strength to defend himself, consuming his strength at a rapid rate. The surrounding sea of blood and the blood mist seemed to have the effect of eroding his strength. "We should have accidentally triggered some kind of barrier. Follow me out and leave this blood sea first," Thunder Dragon roared, pushing his defenses to the limit as he resisted the pressure of the blood sea. "Great Senior, be careful," Cai Dai suddenly exclaimed, waving her 7-colored wings and sending out a burst of light. Looking towards the direction of her attack, Yang Kai's eyes narrowed. He found that from the sea of blood, there were countless blood people condensed from it. These blood people had vague facial features and their bodies were extremely unstable, so Cai Dai's attack had no effect on them at all, directly passing through their bodies and disappearing into the sea of blood. While Thunder Dragon Great Senior was distracted, several blood-red people had already pounced on him with bared fangs and claws. Thunder Dragon's eyes narrowed as he sent out a bolt of purple lightning, piercing through the bodies of these blood people and turning them into puddles of blood. However, one of the blood people still reached out and grabbed Thunder Dragon Great Senior's wrist. As if his flesh had been branded by a hot iron, a tearing sound rang out as Thunder Dragon showed a pained expression, shaking his body and dispersing the blood hand. However, on his wrist, a bright red handprint was left, his flesh lacerated. Everyone's expression changed. Lei Long was a top-notch expert, and he was also a monster beast. His physical body was extremely strong, but he was still unable to withstand the power of this bloodman's grip. It was clear how terrifying the power contained in the blood water was. What made everyone despair though was that the blood people who had been beaten into a puddle of blood by Thunder Dragon Great Senior actually gathered together and stood up again. They seemed to be immortal, impossible to completely destroy. Chapter 908. Surrounded by this sea of blood, the group of 6 used all of their abilities to fight back against the blood people who had emerged from the sea of blood while desperately trying to escape from this dangerous place. But no matter how they tried to escape, they were still surrounded by that thick red color. This blood sea seemed to have no end, as if it would follow everyone's footsteps, making it impossible for them to find a way out. Gradually, Thunder Dragon Great Senior was forced to stop and focus on dealing with the attacks of the blood people. Within a radius of a few thousand meters, bolts of lightning shot out, shuttling back and forth through the blood sea in an attempt to break through its blockade and find a way out. Thunder Dragon Great Senior was a Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon and was proficient in both fire and thunder attribute mysteries. His strength and cultivation were both profound, but even so, he was at a loss for what to do about the situation in front of him. Earth-splitting Divine Ox's earth-yellow light flickered from time to time, sometimes expanding and sometimes being eroded away. The sharp metal chi emitted from Jin Enai's body also gradually dimmed. Cai Dai's 7-colored light and Li Rong's black demonic chi both surged through this blood sea, but it was like this blood sea was a bottomless pit, swallowing up everyone's strength, making it impossible for them to see any hope of escaping. The blood people who emerged from this blood sea didn't have strong attacks and their bodies weren't very sturdy, so the few Saint Realm masters could easily reduce them to a puddle of blood. What was even more frustrating though was that after being reduced to a puddle of blood, these blood people would condense again and stand up to continue attacking. The blood mist that seeped in was constantly wearing down the strength of everyone present. It was unknown whether or not the restrictions here were set up by the great demonic god, but they possessed a terrifying destructive power and endurance. Yang Kai's strength was the lowest among this group of people, and it was precisely because of this that he was surrounded by 5 Saint Realm Masters that he did not need to worry about his own safety for the time being. While the 5 of them were struggling to resist, Yang Kai had been observing the energy fluctuations in the Blood Sea and the situation of the Blood People. Quietly spreading out his spiritual energy, Yang Kai took advantage of one of the Blood People rushing towards Li Rong to release his conflagrated knowledge sea. A scorching heat spread out in all directions, containing a concept that could incinerate all things in the world. Everyone, who was originally feeling cold in body and mind, could not help but feel a burning sensation on their skin after feeling this concept. The 4 monster race people took a break from their busy work and looked at Yang Kai in surprise. Just in time to see the bloody man in front of Li Rong start to boil. The bloody man was made of blood. He had no bones, no flesh, and no blood. The thick and red blood seemed to have been boiled. Bubbles appeared all over his body and evaporated in an extremely short period of time, leaving nothing behind. Everyone's eyes lit up. "Not bad, little brat," Earth-Splitting Ox praised loudly. This was the first time they had completely annihilated a blood person since they had been enveloped by the sea of blood. "Great sage, use fire." Yang Kai hurriedly looked towards Lei Long. Lei Long's reaction was also extremely fast. There was no need for Yang Kai to remind him, quickly restraining his thunder attribute power and releasing a scorching hot flame from his burly body. The attacks of the bloody men were greatly hindered. They seemed to be very afraid of the scorching power. The blood on the surface of their bodies kept bubbling, and their blurry facial features showed a ferocious and painful expression. They stopped in their tracks. Lei Long roared angrily, followed by a series of deafening roars as he sent out a series of fiery dragon-like attacks. Coordinating with Yang Kai's spiritual energy, these attacks instantly cleared out the blood people around them, allowing them to move freely. This isn't a long-term solution. We need to take this opportunity to think of a way to leave this place, Thunder Dragon Great Senior shouted. Using his divine sense, Yang Kai was unable to determine how large this blood sea was. The blood mist that had seeped in had eroded a great deal of everyone's strength, causing the energy fluctuations in their bodies to gradually weaken. Before this blood sea evaporated completely, everyone would likely die. "Why don't you and this little brat stand at the front and burn a way out?" Earth-Splitting Ox proposed. "We can't do that. This blood sea is very strange. It seems to follow us wherever we go. If we can't get rid of it, we'll never be able to escape." Lei Long slowly shook his head, pushing his fire attribute power to the extreme, evaporating a large amount of the blood water around him and Yang Kai. Listening to him say this, everyone else was at a loss for what to do and felt despair. "That's right." Yang Kai's eyes suddenly lit up as he remembered something. Seeing his excited expression, Lei Long immediately shouted, "Boy, did you find a way out of here? If you find something, whether it works or not, we should at least try. It's better than waiting for death here." "I was just thinking about that." Yang Kai nodded before turning to Li Rong and asking, "What about the blood essence stone?" Li Rong was startled, but soon a strange light flashed across her beautiful eyes as she understood what Yang Kai was thinking. Quickly taking out the blood essence stone she had obtained from her universe bag, she handed it over. This blood essence stone was a product from the starfield and had the ability to absorb blood and transform it into blood chi that could be used by anyone. It originally belonged to Shattering Mystical Palace's Zhong Ao, but in the Snow Mountain Range, Zhong Ao was killed and the blood essence stone changed owners. Last time, the blood essence stone had absorbed a lot of blood and was used to heal the injured members of the ancient demon clan, so it had been kept by Li Rong. Yang Kai's eyes also flashed as he recalled the existence of such a thing. "Blood essence stone?" Lei Long muttered, "Is that the blood essence stone from the starfield?" Yang Kai grinned. "Great Senior seems to know a lot. You also have such a thing?" Lei Long looked excited as he laughed. "We're saved. Let's give it a try." Yang Kai no longer spoke nonsense and began pouring his Yuan Qi into the blood essence stone. This product from the starfield immediately exuded a dazzling light and an invisible suction force spread out in all directions. Attracted by this suction force, The blood people surrounding Yang Kai's group roared fiercely and retreated back into the sea of blood. But it was too late. The attractive force of the blood essence stone was not something these blood people could resist. One by one, these blood people transformed into thick streams of blood that shot towards the blood essence stone like 10,000 swords. The blood essence stone did not refuse and absorbed all of this blood, leaving not a single drop behind. A short time later, with the group as the center, there was not a single drop of blood left within a 10-meter radius. Even the blood that had seeped in had been completely absorbed by the blood essence stone. The huge suction force was still there, pulling the blood in the thick sea of blood. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart calmed down and they couldn't help breathing a sigh of relief. They knew that this time, they had survived this disaster. As time passed, the blood-red light emitted from the blood essence stone became more and more intense. The fist-sized stone seemed to be composed entirely of blood, its dark red color causing everyone's heart to palpitate. The amount of blood chi contained within it was unimaginable. Yang Kai held it in his hand and could even feel the rhythmic vibrations coming from inside the blood essence stone, as if he was holding a heart. After an hour, everyone's vision gradually became clear and the sea of blood surrounding them thinned significantly. After another 2 hours, the sea of blood finally disappeared. At this moment, the vitality emitted from the blood essence stone was so strong that it caused even the 2 monster race great seniors to tremble. Even if they released all of their vitality, they would not be able to achieve such a level of vitality. This thing is quite amazing. Where did you find it? Earth-splitting divine ox seemed to be interested in the blood essence stone and hurriedly inquired. Thunder Dragon laughed and said, "Don't even think about it. This kind of thing comes from the starfield and can only be found by chance. This king has only heard of it. Today is the first time he has seen one." Saying so, he turned to look at Yang Kai thoughtfully and said, "Boy, your luck is quite good, you even managed to obtain a blood essence stone. It's just SOSO. Yang Kai chuckled as he played with the blood essence stone in his hand, feeling more and more like it was a heart as he could clearly hear a strong heartbeat coming from it. "Are you willing to sell this thing? This king can offer you a high price, I guarantee you'll be satisfied," Thunder Dragon asked. Yang Kai quickly put the blood essence stone into his black book space and shook his head decisively. Thunder Dragon couldn't help rolling his eyes. "If you don't want to sell it, then don't sell it. Why are you so vigilant? Why would this king steal something from you? Thunder Dragon, why do you want to buy this?" Earth-splitting divine ox didn't quite understand the purpose of this blood essence stone. "You don't understand shit." Thunder Dragon curled his lips. "After this thing absorbs blood, it can turn into a kind of blood chi energy that can be used by anyone. It can be used to heal wounds and bring the dead back to life. During battle, it can also absorb blood chi to increase one's chi and blood power, temporarily increasing one's strength without any side effects. Is it really that amazing?" Earth-splitting divine ox couldn't help but stare towards Yang Kai with some interest, letting out a hollow laugh. "Don't look at me like that, no matter what you say, I won't sell this blood essence stone." Yang Kai shook his head firmly. This holy master doesn't lack money. Saying so, Yang Kai no longer paid any attention to them and took out the heavenly palace from the black book space, sensing the direction it was flying in, and waving his hand, "Let's continue." This little brat. Thunder Dragon was speechless, simply taking out some pills and swallowing them, restoring the strength he had just consumed as he hurried along. As time passed, the light from the heavenly palace grew stronger and stronger. Yang Kai couldn't help feeling excited, more and more convinced that Meng Wu Ya was really here. If he had only left behind some kind of aura here to cause the heavenly palace to react, it wouldn't have changed as he approached it. For such a scene to occur, it meant that Meng Wu Ya was actually here. Yang Kai's heart filled with anticipation, and his speed also increased. A few hours later, when the light from the heavenly palace became brighter, it burst forth with a powerful force and broke free from Yang Kai's shackles, transforming into a stream of light that shot forward and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chapter 909. After the heavenly palace flew out, it turned into a stream of light and disappeared from everyone's sight, causing Yang Kai to freeze in place. "It flew away, what's going on?" Earth-splitting divine ox muttered. "Meng Wu Ya is over there." Thunder Dragon narrowed his eyes and said decisively. Yang Kai sped up and followed the direction the heavenly palace flew off in, a look of excitement and nervousness on his face. Thunder Dragon Great Senior waved his hand and shouted, "Follow him, the human race's strongest master may really be here." The human race's strongest master, I must meet him. Earth-splitting Divine Ox's eyes also lit up. Being able to be called the strongest, it was obvious that this guy named Meng Wu Yue had some kind of extraordinary ability, otherwise, the human race would not have recognized him as such. It was a spacious and empty field, like a rocky hill, with many broken stones scattered on the ground. In the middle of this field stood a series of strange stone pillars, a total of 8 of them arranged in an octagonal formation, each of which exuded a strong energy fluctuation. Moreover, these energy fluctuations all had different attributes. There was a scorching flame aura, an icy cold aura, an all-pervasive toxic aura, and even a lightning energy that was as swift as flowing water. All kinds of different power concepts flowed in this place, converging to form an area that would shock anyone who heard of it. At this moment, on one of the 8 stone pillars, a white-haired old man was restrained by an invisible force. He could not move his body, and he could not speak. His head was lowered, and his clothes were tattered like a beggar's. His life aura was also weak, and he was about to die. Ka-cha-cha! Rumbling sounds rang out incessantly. From time to time, waves of shocking power would erupt from the 8 stone pillars and surge towards the old man. This power was enough to destroy the heavens and earth. The old man seemed to have been struck by this power for a long time and was on the verge of death, but he still managed to hold on to his last breath, not allowing his vitality to fade away. Flames burned on the old man's body, charring his flesh while lightning pierced through his body, incinerating his 5 viscera. A highly toxic toxin spread through every inch of his body, causing his skin to flicker with a dark green hue. Outside the octagonal stone pillars, a woman with a veil over her face sat on the ground. Her eyes were as clear as crystal, and there wasn't a single blemish on them. A strange power burst forth from her delicate body. She aimed at the surging power of the 8 stone pillars and constantly waved her hands to help the old man absorb the terrifying damage. The woman was petite and her face was covered by a thin veil, making it impossible to see her true appearance. Her forehead was adorned with a sapphire, just as clear as her beautiful eyes. There were traces of tears on her pretty face, but no tears fell, as if her tears had dried up. Her tender body trembled as she constantly pushed her strength, trying to rescue the old man from the octagonal stone pillars, but she was unable to do so. He swallowed one pill after another to recover his lost energy. Kong. Another bolt of lightning came from one of the stone pillars. It was as thick as a person's thigh, and it struck the old man's body. In an instant, the old man's flesh was split open, and blood spilled out. After being stimulated by this bolt of lightning, the old man finally woke up from his coma. He raised his head slightly, and his dim eyes stared at the woman. He pursed his lips, trying to say something with difficulty, but no sound came out. The woman understood what he meant and kept shaking her head. The old man's eyes flashed with guilt, as well as a strong unwillingness. At this moment, the old man suddenly seemed to notice something and used all his strength to look to the side. Over there, a stream of light shot out and rushed into his body with lightning speed. The old man's body shook as a look of disbelief appeared on his face. His originally dim eyes suddenly flashed with an astonishing light. In the next moment, a palace-like barrier lit up and wrapped around the old man's body, blocking the power that was attacking him from all directions. It seemed that because of the return of the stream of light, the old man's complexion became a little ruddy and his vitality was restored slightly. The woman sitting outside the octagonal stone pillars let out a soft cry as her beautiful eyes widened. Turning her head to look in the direction the stream of light had come from, she happened to see a heroic and majestic figure gradually becoming clearer in her grey field of vision. 4 eyes met, and the woman's tears, which had long since dried up, suddenly began to flow down her cheeks. Yang Kai also stared at her in a daze, feeling the blood in his body boil as his fingertips trembled. Grinning, he said in a gentle voice that seemed to be able to melt stone, "Little senior sister, I finally found you." Standing in front of him was none other than Xia Ningchang, the one he had been searching for 10 years in Tongxian realm. She looked exactly the same as when she left the central capital, as if the flowing time great emperor had not left any trace on her body. The only thing that had changed was her figure, which was much fuller than before. Junior brother? Xia Ningqiang couldn't believe what she was seeing and muttered, "This isn't a dream, right?" Yang Kai shook his head and stepped towards her. Xia Ningqiang's tender body trembled slightly until she was hugged by Yang Kai and felt the warmth from his chest. Only then did she confirm that everything in front of her was not a dream, nor was it an illusion. The junior brother she had been thinking about day and night had really found her. In an instant, Xia Ningqiang's mood calmed down, feeling that she had found someone she could rely on when she was at her most hesitant. Tears soaked Yang Kai's clothes, which contained the warmth of his little senior sister. Yang Kai took a deep breath and turned his eyes towards the old man who seemed to be nailed to a stone pillar not far away. Narrowing his eyes, Yang Kai almost cried out in horror. Treasurer Meng Wu Ya, who had given Kai Yang a lot of help when he was very weak, now had a withered appearance. His body was so thin that he was practically just skin and bones. It was impossible to tell that he was still a person. Yang Kai couldn't imagine what kind of torture and pain he had suffered. How did it become like this? Yang Kai asked solemnly. In his impression, Meng Wu Ya always had an indifferent and calm demeanor, as if nothing in the world could stop him. He had always appeared in front of the world with an invincible attitude, which often shocked those who went against him and made them regret it. But now, the brave and invincible Meng Wu Ya seemed to be on the verge of death, which made Yang Kai somewhat unable to accept. Master and I entered the ruins of the demon race, then triggered some kind of restriction and was sent here. When I woke up, Master was trapped on a stone pillar. I don't know what happened to the 8 pillars, but they were constantly releasing energy to torment Master. I wanted to save him, but I was powerless. Junior brother, please save Master. If you don't get him out, he really will die. Xia Ningqiang was sobbing, constantly pleading. She had been picked up by Meng Wu Ya when she was very young, and it could be said that Meng Wu Ya had single-handedly raised her. Her strength was also taught by Meng Wu Ya, so she regarded this master as her most important family member. Seeing Meng Wu Ya being tortured every day, Xia Ningqiang felt the same way, and it was extremely painful. Yang Kai nodded and reached out to pat Xia Ningqiang's head, injecting a subtle amount of energy into her body as he softly said, "Don't worry, since I'm here, I will save him. You should rest." Xia Ningqiang's eyelids suddenly became heavy. Yang Kai's words were like a curse, causing her to instantly fall into a deep sleep. Xia Ningqiang was also at the end of her rope. How could Yang Kai not see this? The two of them had been trapped here for an unknown period of time, and during this time, little senior sister had not rested at all. Using her energy without restraint was very likely to bring about hidden dangers to her body. She had to rest. Trapped on the stone pillar, Meng Wu Ya looked at Yang Kai with a look of gratitude in his cloudy eyes. He transmitted his divine sense to Yang Kai, telling him to leave. As long as Yang Kai safely brought Xia Ningqiang out of this place, Meng Wu Ya would be able to die in peace. He had been tortured for so long, but he was still holding on to his last breath because he was worried about his precious disciple. Their eyes met, but Yang Kai did not say anything. He simply turned around, picked up the unconscious Xia Ningqiang, and walked back the way they came. At this moment, the 4 monster race masters and Li Rong had also arrived not far away. They all stopped and stared blankly, not quite understanding what was going on. "Master, this girl." Li Rong saw that Yang Kai's expression was not quite right and quickly asked in a soft voice. "She's my senior sister," Yang Kai replied as he placed her in a safe place. "Master's senior sister?" Li Rong couldn't help feeling shocked as she secretly observed Xia Ningqiang, quickly discovering that although this veiled woman wasn't very old and the Saint Qi in her body was somewhat chaotic due to overexertion, her cultivation was actually the same as Yang Kai's, a third-order transcendent. The 4 people from the monster race also noticed this. The 2 great seniors looked at each other and were both horrified. They had thought that it was already incredible for a young third-order transcendent like Yang Kai to appear in this world, but now this senior sister of unknown origin was also the same. Yang Kai was from Soaring Heaven sect, So was this woman from Soaring Heaven sect? Was this sect's cultivation method really so amazing? After putting down Xia Ning Chang, Yang Kai turned around and continued to stare at Meng Wu Ya, a moment later quickly saying, Thunder Dragon Great Senior, I know that Treasurer Meng has some grievances with your monster race, but I hope you won't find trouble with him at this time. That guy isn't Meng Wu Ya, is he? Thunder Dragon frowned as he stared forward. If it weren't for Yang Kai's reminder, he wouldn't have been so certain, but upon closer inspection, he did find that the old man trapped on the stone pillar was somewhat similar to the one he had met in the past. This is the human race's strongest master. How did he end up like this? Earth-splitting Divine Ox also frowned. Meng Wu Ya's current situation was really quite distressing. Yes, he is Meng Wu Ya. Yang Kai nodded. I want to get him out. I won't ask you monster race masters for help, as long as you don't disturb me. Chapter 9-10. Hearing this, Thunder Dragon snorted, Little brat, what kind of person do you think I am? Do you think this king is the kind of despicable villain who would add insult to injury? Xue Jiao Great Senior did die because of Meng Wu Ya, so this king would like to find him and compete with him, but I will wait until he is restored to his peak state. Of course, that is only if you can really rescue him. Being able to trap a character like Meng Wu Ya, the mysteries contained in these 8 stone pillars must be extraordinary, so Thunder Dragon Great Senior wasn't optimistic about Yang Kai's arrogant words. Although this little brat repeatedly surprised everyone, in the end, he was still only a third-order transcendent. Whether or not I can save him, I have to try. Yang Kai took a deep breath and released his divine sense towards the 8 stone pillars. He had just arrived here, so he didn't know what kind of danger Treasurer Meng had encountered or why he was bound to these stone pillars, so naturally he had to investigate first. Yang Kai's movements were extremely cautious to avoid triggering any kind of barrier. Seemingly aware of Yang Kai's divine sense spreading out, Meng Wu Ya, who was still trapped on the stone pillar, shook his head with difficulty, his dry lips trembling slightly as he tried to stop Yang Kai's actions, his eyes flashing with anxiety. At that time, he had been inexplicably trapped because he was trying to investigate. However, Yang Kai's divine sense was fast and silent, so Meng Wu Ya had no time to stop it. As soon as his divine sense touched the 8 stone pillars, Yang Kai's face paled. The terrifying power contained in these stone pillars was far beyond his imagination, a power that could almost sweep away the entire world. In the next moment, the heavens and earth began to tremble. A wave of pressure that caused everyone to be extremely terrified descended from the sky. The 5 Saint Realm Masters all felt their blood boil and their breathing become difficult. None of them had expected such a terrifying pressure to exist in this world, one that even they didn't dare resist. A golden light bloomed, and from the void, a giant hand strangely stretched out and grabbed hold of Yang Kai's body like a bolt of lightning. Immediately, the 5 golden fingers contracted and transformed into a rope that bound Yang Kai and dragged him forward. Yang Kai couldn't resist at all. In front of this giant hand, his strength was almost completely sealed, making it impossible for him to exert even the slightest bit of strength. Looking around in amazement, Yang Kai discovered that none of the masters who had come here had managed to escape. All of them were being dragged towards the octagonal stone pillars, all of them using their divine senses to investigate. Only Xia Ning Chang, who was still unconscious, was lucky had managed to escape. Seeing this scene, Meng Wu Ya's eyes dimmed, he knew it was all too late. Peng Peng. The 4 monster race masters, plus Li Rong and Yang Kai, a total of 6, were all bound to the stone pillars, unable to move. In the next moment, Meng Wu of Yang, Meng Wu of course, Meng of Yang. Even the 2 monster race great seniors couldn't bear this terrifying torment, their faces twisting with pain as Cai Dai and Li Rong screamed out in pain. A violent power erupted from everyone's bodies as the 4 monster race masters all transformed into their monster beast forms, desperately trying to break free from the bindings of the stone pillars. Scarlet Flame Thunder Dragon, Earth-Splitting Divine Ox, 9 Nether Golden Beast, 7-colored Illusionary Butterfly, each of these monster beasts was a noble monster race bloodline, rarely seen, but now they had all gathered together. Li Rong also displayed her demon god transformation, strange dark demon crests crawling all over her cheeks, giving her a wild sense of beauty. But no matter how they struggled, in front of these 8 stone pillars, they were as weak as ants. Yang Kai's face also became extremely pale. The moment he was bound to the stone pillars, he finally understood the pain Meng Wu Yue was enduring. Each of the 8 stone pillars contained a different kind of power. These 8 different kinds of power converged into a terrifying territory, intertwining into a giant net, lashing out at everyone's mind and body. What shocked Yang Kai the most though was that this stone pillar was also quite strange. It was actually rapidly absorbing the strength and physique essence from his body. Everyone's vitality was rapidly drained, and the fluctuations of their strength were gradually weakening. "Master, use your demon god transformation," Li Rong suddenly shouted. Yang Kai, who had been gritting his teeth and enduring the terrible destruction, immediately displayed the divine skill he had inherited from the great demon god. The world trembled as a rich evil energy surged out from the unyielding golden skeleton, replacing the original Yang Yuan Qi in Yang Kai's meridians and physique. The demon crests merged into his physique and disappeared, converging into a spirit array invisible to the naked eye. In the next moment, Yang Kai suddenly felt a sense of relief. It turned out that after using the demon god transformation, the damage to his body had disappeared, and the stone pillar that had bound him no longer extracted his flesh and blood essence and strength. At the same time, he also felt an unusual aura flowing within the octagonal stone pillar. Shocked, Yang Kai muttered, "Is this the great demon god's method?" On the other side of the stone pillar, Li Rong nodded heavily. Like Yang Kai, after using the demon god transformation, she was safe and sound. It was because she had noticed this abnormality that she had anxiously warned Yang Kai. These 8 stone pillars contained the aura of the great demon god. This was the result of the great demon god's method. The demon god transformation and the ancient demon clan had a deep relationship with the great demon god, so after using the demon god transformation, they were able to avoid physical pain. Although this was only a guess Yang Kai had made in a flash, it should be the truth. Turning his head, Yang Kai saw that the 4 monster race masters were still clenching their teeth and struggling to hold on. After 10 breaths of time, they automatically returned to their human forms. All of them looked haggard as they stared blankly towards Yang Kai. It wouldn't be long before they all ended up like Meng Wu Yue. Yang Kai struggled, trying to break free from the shackles of the stone pillars, but soon found that he was powerless. Just as he was feeling anxious though, Li Rong suddenly called out, "Master, there's movement." Yang Kai's eyes narrowed as he stared in front of him. At the very center of the 8 stone pillars, an illusory figure was slowly condensing. Gradually, this figure began to take on a corporeal form. This figure was tall and majestic, and his expression was dignified. A pair of bright eyes stared at Yang Kai and Li Rong suspiciously. Seeing the appearance of this person, Yang Kai suddenly grinned, silently and mysteriously. Li Rong's beautiful eyes also widened as she stared at the figure in front of her, gradually overlapping it with the image of a certain person in her mind. She couldn't help calling out, "Great demon god." The illusory figure in front of her was clearly the same as the statue in front of Demon God Citadel. The statue in front of Demon God Citadel was carved by the ancestors of the ancient demon clan. These ancestors had served Great Demon God before, so naturally they knew what he looked like. Hearing Li Rong's call, the faces of the 4 monster race masters paled. Even if Great Demon God had fallen countless years ago, his name was still enough to shock the world. He was a legend of his generation, a height no one had ever reached. "It really is you," Yang Kai shouted. "But, didn't Great Demon God Master fall long ago?" Li Rong couldn't believe that this strange figure in front of her was Great Demon God, but the aura emanating from his body was indeed not fake. He's not Great Demon God's main body, he's just a soul clone. Can't you see that he doesn't have a physical body? Yang Kai stared at the figure in front of him. "A soul clone? What's that?" Li Rong exclaimed. Yang Kai just shook his head and didn't explain. He had obtained a drop of pure demon god golden blood and comprehended a demon god divine technique, the soul clone technique. He had also cultivated this divine technique, but the soul clone he created was still being nurtured in his knowledge sea and was of no use for the time being. However, Great Demon God was different. Since this divine technique was his, it meant that his soul clone was extremely powerful, perhaps even comparable to his main body. As soon as Yang Kai saw the figure in front of him, he immediately understood his origins. "Oh, boy, you seem to know quite a lot, worthy of being this senior's chosen successor." Great Demon God's soul clone suddenly turned to Yang Kai and smiled faintly, his voice echoing directly in Yang Kai's mind. Yang Kai grinned meaningfully. "It seems that your understanding of me isn't shallow." Great Demon God's soul clone snorted. "If I hadn't sensed the appearance of this senior skeleton, how could I have appeared so easily? As for this woman, she should be a descendant of the bloodline that served me back then, right? The demon god transformation isn't something just anyone can learn." "Are you really Great Demon God?" Li Rong was so shocked that she was rendered speechless, her beautiful eyes filled with fanatical worship and excitement. As the successor of the ancient demon clan, she had fantasized countless times about what kind of existence Great Demon God was, but seeing him with her own eyes today made her realize just how weak her imagination was. She was now a top master in the Third Order Saint realm, but in front of the means laid down by Great Demon God countless years ago, she had been directly captured without being able to resist. If the other party hadn't taken the initiative to appear, she and Yang Kai would likely be no different from the 4 monster race masters right now. She couldn't imagine what kind of shocking divine technique Great Demon God possessed when he was alive. "Since we have such a deep connection, shouldn't we have a good talk?" Yang Kai looked at him and asked. "What do you want to talk about? How about letting my friends go? They were simply implicated by me, as well as that old man who came in before. He also has some sort of relationship with me." Great Demon God stared at him calmly for a moment before suddenly snorting. "Boy, are you mistaken? Do you think because you are this senior's chosen successor you can negotiate terms with me? If you really think so, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Why did you capture them? Why did you arrange such a thing here?" Yang Kai frowned, faintly feeling that things weren't so simple. "It's not that I wanted to capture them, it's just that they entered a place they shouldn't have." Great Demon God slowly shook his head. "Anyone who enters this place shouldn't even think about leaving alive. This place is the hub of the entire world." "What do you mean?" Yang Kai asked anxiously. "It's too early to tell you this now. Since you possess this senior skeleton, sooner or later you will reach this senior's level, and when that time comes, you will understand." Great Demon God said, seemingly a little impatient. "For the sake of you inheriting this senior's will, I can let you and this woman leave, but don't enter this place again, otherwise I won't show any mercy." Chapter 9:11. Saying so, the Great Demon God's soul clone stretched out his hand and summoned a void corridor not far away, one that was dark and deep enough to accommodate several people walking side by side. "Use your own demonic chi to break free from the shackles of this profound divine pillar and then leave." Great Demon God waved his hand and ordered them to leave. Li Rong turned her eyes to Yang Kai, waiting for him to make a decision. Yang Kai just stared at Great Demon God quietly, not saying a word, his eyes as deep as the stars in the sky. "Why haven't you left yet?" Seeing Yang Kai not moving, Great Demon God's soul clone shouted, his dignified voice echoing in Yang Kai's mind like a sledgehammer pounding his heart, causing his blood to tumble and his face to flush red. However, Yang Kai soon calmed down and shook his head. "I want to take them with me." Great Demon God coldly snorted, "You overestimate yourself. I have given you a chance. If you don't take it, you can stay here forever. Although you are the inheritor of this senior skeleton, you must pay the price for intruding here." Yang Kai's expression remained unchanged as he glanced around and asked, "These 8 stone pillars are called profound divine pillars?" "We also encountered one on the way here, one that was much longer than these 8 and had the words profound divine pillar engraved on it. What does it have to do with this place?" Trapped in this prison, not only was Yang Kai not anxious, he even had the leisure to chat with Great Demon God's soul clone, causing Great Demon God to feel somewhat surprised. Even Li Rong stared at Yang Kai in surprise, not knowing what he wanted to do. "There are many profound divine pillars here, but these 8 are the central ones. Why do you ask?" Great Demon God lightly replied. "Nothing." Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders and grinned. "I was just thinking that since this place was left behind by Great Demon God, it shouldn't have anything to do with you. You are just a guard left behind by this senior to guard this place. Great Demon God's eyes flashed brilliantly as he looked at Yang Kai with approval and nodded lightly. Your thoughts are quite astute. I'm just guessing, Yang Kai smiled indifferently. On the way here, we encountered a green sea where the soul avatars of countless masters resided. We also encountered a strange blood sea. I think these were all barriers that the great demon god left behind in the past to prevent anyone from approaching these 8 stone pillars, right? So what if I am? The great demonic lord nodded in acknowledgement. Yang Kai's calm demeanor and confident manner suddenly made him feel somewhat interested. Nothing. Yang Kai's smile suddenly became strange. It's just that I find it a little strange. Since you're so good that you can instantly imprison and bind the masters who come here regardless of their cultivation, why did the great demon god set up so many barriers in the past to prevent others from coming here? Isn't that a little unnecessary? What do you want to say? The great demon god's eyes narrowed as a feeling of unease suddenly appeared in his heart. I just want to say, you appear to be incomparably powerful, but in fact, you're just a soul clone and don't have much strength at all. What's binding us here are the 8 stone pillars, something the great demon god set up in the past. It has nothing to do with the current you. Yang Kai's voice became low as he finished speaking. Hearing him say this, Li Rong's expression also froze as she suspiciously glanced towards the great demon god's soul clone, wanting to probe it with her divine sense but quickly discovering that with her soul bound to the stone pillars, she couldn't use it at all. Are you so sure? The great demon god's soul clone stared coldly at Yang Kai, as if his greatest secret had been exposed, his expression changing slightly, but the look in his eyes was still very firm. You were in a hurry to let me and Li Rong leave because you didn't want the two of us to remain here. I believe that when the great demon god set up the restrictions in this place, he had already left behind a secret door. Those who can use the demon god transformation will not have to suffer any physical pain. Coincidentally, Li Rong and I just happened to meet this condition, right? The great demon god suddenly burst into laughter. You're so fat and you're so full of yourself. Speaking so much, it's all just your own imagination. Yang Kai shook his head. After a person dies, their spiritual energy won't be able to remain in the world for long. It won't be long before it disappears, even if you are the great demon god's avatar. You don't have a vessel for this avatar of yours. You probably escaped the fate of vanishing by residing in these 8 stone pillars. However, after so many years, how much power do you have left? You can test for yourself how much power I have left. The great demonic god's avatar sneered. Of course I want to test it, because you can't control the power of these 8 stone pillars, so there's no way you can release them. Yang Kai shouted, in that case, I can only destroy these 8 stone pillars myself. Boy, you dare. The great demon god's avatar roared. Open your eyes wide and see if I dare or not. Yang Kai laughed, the power in his body surging madly as his vitality soared. The world trembled and everyone's vision changed, as if the entire world was being distorted. This kind of violent power even caused the 2 monster race great seniors to pale slightly. They didn't know how a mere transcendent cultivator like Yang Kai could erupt with such power. *KA. As if something had been broken free, Yang Kai walked down from the stone pillar he was tied to, his hands, feet, and neck shaking as a series of crackling sounds rang out. Li Rong, come down and help. Yang Kai shouted. Li Rong gawked, glancing between Yang Kai and the great demon god's avatar, not knowing what to do. Great demon god held an irreplaceable position in the hearts of every demon race cultivator. This kind of worship and reverence came from deep within their bones, making it impossible for Li Rong to oppose him. However, Yang Kai was also the master of her ancient demon clan. If Yang Kai gave orders, she had no choice but to obey. For a moment, she was in a dilemma. He's not the great demon god, the great demon god's true body fell long ago, you don't need to feel any psychological burden. But Li Rong hesitated. Forget it. You stay there. Yang Kai no longer forced her, instead turning to the great demon god's avatar and saying, I'm going to start destroying this stone pillar now, if you have any way to stop me, quickly use it. The great demon god's avatar just stared at him with a dignified expression, not showing any intention of stopping him, only asking after a long silence, "Do you really want to destroy this place? Do you think I'm joking? Do you know what the consequences of destroying this place will be? I only know that if I don't destroy this place, my friends and elders will all die. However, you should know a lot about the mysteries of this place, so can you tell me what it is? I just heard you say that this place seems to be the center of the entire continent. What does it matter?" The great demon god's avatar smiled faintly. "When you destroy this place, you will naturally understand what the consequences are. I hope you can afford the price." Yang Kai frowned and said impatiently, "Stop being so mysterious." Regardless of why the great demon god had placed so many barriers here in the past, regardless of whether this place was the center of the continent or not, since Meng Wu Yue was trapped on this stone pillar, Yang Kai had no choice but to free him. Saying so, demonic chi surged from his right fist, sending out a strong energy fluctuation. Looking at it, it was as if his right fist had turned into a deep black hole, causing anyone who saw it to feel uneasy. Hong. Yang Kai's fist slammed into the stone pillar he had been trapped on, causing it to shake violently. Soon after, cracking sounds were emitted as numerous densely packed lines appeared on the entire stone pillar. It seemed as though it was about to collapse at any moment. Yang Kai was stunned, not having expected this stone pillar to be so easily destroyed. He had been prepared to fight a protracted battle. Seeing him really begin, the great demon god's avatar was no longer in a hurry and instead laughed heartily, nodding as he said, "Your temper is as tough as this senior's. No wonder you were able to inherit this senior's skeleton. You won't stop me." Yang Kai turned to look at him and shook his fist. "With the next blow, this stone pillar will be broken." The great demon god's avatar shrugged his shoulders. "You said I didn't have the strength to stop you, so how could I stop you? Forget it, this world has been sealed for too long, it's time to see the light of day again. Boy, if you have time, you should go to the demon capital. Once you get there, you will naturally understand the mysteries of this place." "Speak clearly," Yang Kai frowned. The great demon god's avatar simply smiled without saying anything, putting on an unfathomable expression before his figure faded and gradually disappeared. No matter how Yang Kai called out to him, he did not show any intention of reappearing. "Boy, hurry up and get us out of here, we can't stay here for long." Thunder Dragon Great Senior stared blankly at Yang Kai and said weakly. Nodding, Yang Kai no longer wasted any time and threw another punch at the stone pillar. The stone pillar shattered with a loud bang, and the fragments of stone flew in all directions. The enormous amount of energy sealed within the stone pillar also surged out like a river bursting through a dam. Yang Kai did not panic as he summoned his silver leaf artifact. Like the Milky Way, a silver light enveloped everyone in it. At the same time, the grand heavenly shield appeared, blocking the energy damage. Like a chain reaction, after the first stone pillar was destroyed, the remaining 7 all cracked, and the power that bound everyone disappeared in an instant. Everyone fell to the ground. Catcher. The 7 stone pillars all made a cracking sound and seemed to be on the verge of exploding. The energy sealed inside the stone pillars was also beginning to stir. "Hurry up and leave," Yang Kai shouted. If one stone pillar exploded, he would have to resist with all his strength, but if all 7 were to explode at the same time, no one present would survive. Li Rong wrapped everyone in her Yuan Qi without hesitation and flew towards the entrance to the void corridor opened by the great demon god's avatar. Yang Kai's figure flickered and arrived next to Xia Ningchang, picked her up, and followed closely behind Li Rong and the others. Just after entering the entrance, the world behind him began to buzz. Yang Kai glanced back and his face suddenly paled. The world behind him seemed to have been disintegrated and suddenly became fragmented, the fragments quickly spreading towards the void corridor. In the position where the 8 stone pillars originally stood, the great demon god's avatar once again appeared, quietly staring in the direction Yang Kai and the others left before being swallowed by a ray of light. Chapter 9:12. In mid-air, a pitch-black hole appeared and a moment later, Li Rong flew out with the 4 monster race masters and Meng Wu Yue. After determining the direction, they began to descend. Yang Kai followed closely behind with Xia Ningchang in his arms. Just as the two of them left the void corridor, a flash of light appeared behind them and the entire void corridor began to wriggle before shrinking into a small black dot and disappearing without a trace. Yang Kai broke out in a cold sweat, knowing that if he had been just a moment slower, he and his little senior sister would have been trapped in there forever. Looking down, Yang Kai saw a dense forest below, filled with the sound of birds chirping and the fragrance of flowers. The scenery was very pleasant. Li Rong stood in the open space below and waved to Yang Kai, "Master, over here." Yang Kai nodded and flew down. At the same time, he spread out his divine sense and became vigilant of his surroundings. Yang Kai originally thought that this was still a part of the Beast Sea jungle. After all, he had entered through the Beast Sea jungle, but after a careful investigation, he found that there was not a single monster beast within a radius of several dozen kilometers. Puzzled, after confirming that there was no danger nearby, Yang Kai withdrew his divine sense. Placing Xia Ningqiang to the side, Yang Kai hurriedly asked, "How are they?" "It's not too serious, after all, they haven't been bound for too long, so they'll be fine after a while." "But this old man." Li Rong looked at the withered and emaciated Meng Wu Ya with pity and sighed. According to Lei Long, this was once the strongest master of the human race, but now he had become so miserable. If he wasn't treated, with his current vitality, he wouldn't be able to live much longer. "It's fine, with me here, he won't die," Yang Kai said as he walked over to Meng Wu Ya and helped him up. Treasurer Meng's miserable appearance made Yang Kai's heart ache. Having known him for so long, Yang Kai had never seen Treasurer Meng in such a miserable state. Meng Wu Ya stretched out his bony hand with difficulty and used all his strength to grab Yang Kai's clothes, his pair of turbid eyes staring straight into Yang Kai's eyes as his dry lips trembled. "Don't say anything, I know what you mean, I'll take good care of little senior sister." Yang Kai nodded lightly. Meng Wu Ya's eyes brightened for a moment. He was gratified by Yang Kai's understanding of his worries, a smile appearing on his face. Yang Kai quickly took out a jade bottle filled with myriad drug milk and poured out a little for Meng Wu Ya to drink. The myriad drug milk had a very obvious effect on treating serious injuries. Although Meng Wu Ya was gasping for breath, this would at least allow him to preserve his last breath. Immediately, Yang Kai took out the blood essence stone. A powerful thumping sound came from inside the blood essence stone. As if feeling the huge amount of blood chi contained inside the blood essence stone, Meng Wu Ya's eyes brightened. The stone pillar had the ability to absorb the essence of those who were bound, so Meng Wu Ya's vitality had almost been completely drained by the stone pillar. What he needed most now was to replenish his vitality. As long as he had enough vitality, he would be able to regain his vitality. The blood essence stone was undoubtedly the best choice. With the myriad drug milk and the blood essence stone, Yang Kai didn't believe he couldn't save Treasurer Meng. Yang Kai poured his yuan qi into the blood essence stone and poured it into Meng Wu Ya's body. As the blood qi entered his body, Treasurer Meng also felt his vitality begin to recover, so he cooperatively closed his eyes and allowed Kai Yang to heal him. Time passed slowly. At a rate visible to the naked eye, Meng Wu Ya's body began to undergo earth-shaking changes. Like a deflated balloon being blown up, Meng Wu Ya's flesh and blood gradually filled up and his withered body became full again. The countless wounds on his skin quickly healed and his skin became much smoother, no longer as wrinkled as before. After a full hour, Meng Wu Ya suddenly opened his eyes and looked towards Yang Kai, his voice hoarse as he said, "I'll do it myself, you go take care of Ningqiang." Yang Kai nodded and handed the blood essence stone to Meng Wu Ya before turning around to assess the situation of the others. The four monster race masters were all sitting motionless in meditation, but after an hour of recovery, their complexions had become much better. Yang Kai thought about it for a moment before taking out a drop of myriad drug liquid and hiding it in a pill he carried with him, giving one to each of them. The four monster race masters didn't hesitate and immediately stuffed the pill into their mouths. Yang Kai then came to Xia Ningqiang's side. Li Rong had been guarding this place all this time, seemingly knowing that this veiled woman was very important to Yang Kai, so she had not left even a single step. Xia Ningqiang's situation was much better than Meng Wu Ya's, but because she had used too much of her strength, it had caused her to collapse. Yang Kai gave her a drop of myriad drug liquid before sitting down and waiting. Master. Li Rong suddenly whispered. Before, Li Rong did not listen to Master's orders and violated the oath my clan made before, bringing shame to our clan's loyalty. Master, please punish me. Chem. Yang Kai was staring at Xia Ningchang, but after hearing her say this, he couldn't help looking up at her, thinking for a moment before suddenly understanding why she had said such words. That matter, you don't need to worry about it. It was me who didn't think clearly and ordered you to act against Great Demon God's soul clone. It's not your fault. But Master, since my clan has sworn to serve you, we cannot hesitate in the slightest to your orders. Don't be so rigid. That was Great Demon God's soul clone. It's inevitable that you would hesitate. If one day Great Demon God suddenly came back to life and ordered you to deal with me, would you hesitate? Li Rong was startled, not knowing how to answer. Yang Kai smiled. That's right, you hesitated because I am your master, but in the end, Great Demon God is Great Demon God, his position in your hearts is incomparable. Let bygones be bygones, there's no need to mention it again. Li Rong pursed her red lips for a long time before nodding lightly. Yes. Suddenly, she smiled sweetly. Master, this girl is your beloved woman, right? Kai Yang admitted without any hesitation, being extremely frank. No wonder Master looks at her with such a gentle gaze. Li Rong smiled tenderly. I've never seen Master reveal such an expression when looking at a woman. Although this young lady's face is covered by a thin veil, making it impossible to see her true appearance, I'm certain she is an outstanding beauty. Outstanding beauty? Yang Kai raised his brow and laughed. Whether she is an outstanding beauty or not, I don't know because I have never seen little senior sister's true appearance. Ah! Li Rong covered her mouth and exclaimed, somewhat incredulously, you haven't seen her true appearance. Yang Kai shook his head. The thin veil covering Xia Ningchang's face should also be a mysterious artifact. Before, Yang Kai didn't know what it was and didn't know the mysteries behind it, but now he had discovered it. With this thin veil covering her face, even if someone wanted to use their divine sense to investigate her, they would be unable to see anything. Then Master's feelings for her must be very deep. Li Rong said decisively. If not for this, why would Yang Kai be so obsessed with a woman whose true appearance he had never seen? When he saw her, he wouldn't have lost his composure. The impression Yang Kai gave to Li Rong had always been a calm and tough person, rarely showing such excitement. Boy, if she is ugly, what will you do? Thunder Dragon Great Senior suddenly asked. Yang Kai turned his head and found that the two great seniors had almost recovered while Cai Dai and Jin Ni were still meditating. The two great seniors obviously heard the previous conversation and couldn't help joking. No, little senior sister's heart is very pure. In my eyes, she is a beautiful woman. Yang Kai smiled lightly. Thunder Dragon Great Senior frowned but suddenly nodded. What does it matter if she is ugly or beautiful? But don't you want to see what she looks like? Earth-splitting Ox interjected. Now that she's unconscious, it's a good opportunity to do so. No, when little senior sister lifts her veil one day, I'll take a look. Yang Kai shook his head. If I look at her now, it'll only benefit your eyes. Thunder Dragon laughed. I didn't expect you to be so protective of your beloved. Can't others see your beloved woman? None of your business. Yang Kai spat disdainfully. He didn't mind Xia Ningchang's true appearance being seen by others, but this time he had to see it for himself, right? But this king is curious. What sect do you come from? Why do you have such high cultivation at such a young age? Don't tell me you're from Soaring Heaven sect. Soaring Heaven sect can't do such a thing. I also have a senior sister who is also like this. Yang Kai grinned meaningfully, clearly very proud of himself. Thunder Dragon's face twitched. If there's a chance, I'd like to see what kind of place raised monsters like you. If there's a chance. Yang Kai's expression dimmed, not knowing how to return to the central capital. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Thunder Dragon changed the subject, his expression becoming serious. What did you say to that person in front of those 8 stone pillars? What is his background? Before, the communication between Yang Kai and Great Demon God's soul clone had been entirely through divine sense, so the monster race masters had only seen the changes in their expressions but not the content of their conversation. What his background is, didn't Thunder Dragon Great Senior already have some guesses? Yang Kai looked at him with a smile. Thunder Dragon's eyes narrowed as a look of shock appeared on his face. So, he really is Great Demon God? Great Demon God? Earth-splitting Ox exclaimed. How could that be? Didn't that guy fall thousands of years ago? How could he appear in such a place? It's probably a remnant soul, Thunder Dragon quickly explained, because he doesn't have a physical body, just a remnant soul is so powerful. Just what level is Great Demon God's true body? It was rumored that Great Demon God had cultivated to the peak of this world. However, from the various signs, it was clear that he had more than just a third-order saint. 3 peak third-order saints and 2 second-order saints, in front of Yang Kai's arrangements, were completely powerless to resist. If Great Demon God's true body was really just a third-order saint, it would be impossible for him to accomplish such a feat. Chapter 9:13. Recalling what they had experienced in that strange space, the 2 monster race great seniors couldn't help feeling a chill run down their spines. Whether it was the Green Sea, the monstrous Blood Sea, or the final 8 stone pillars, all of them contained unimaginable power. Even if a third-order saint could resist the first 2 barriers, they would be powerless in front of the final stone pillar. If the methods arranged countless years ago were so powerful, just how high was the Great Demon God's true cultivation? Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Divine Ox couldn't even begin to imagine. In front of such a legendary figure, they suddenly felt as weak as children, deeply realizing their own shortcomings. Who knows how strong he really is? Yang Kai smiled. Perhaps he's not just a third-order saint, perhaps there is an even higher realm above the saint realm. An even higher realm? Thunder Dragon's eyes narrowed. Why has this king never heard of it? 10 years ago, I didn't even know there was a transcendent realm above the immortal ascension boundary. In our world, the top masters don't even know the name of the transcendent realm, let alone the saint realm. Thunder Dragon Great Senior stared at Yang Kai in surprise. After a long time his brow twitched. What kind of remote place did you come from? How could you be so uninformed? Let's not talk about this. How are you 2 recovering? Yang Kai asked. We're almost done. Do you still have any of the pills you gave us? They don't look like much, but their effects are surprisingly good. Give some to this king. In any case, your 9 heavens holy land doesn't need to worry about alchemy, Thunder Dragon asked without any trace of politeness. This time, when they entered that strange world to explore, the 4 monster race masters had traveled far and wide but hadn't obtained any benefits and had even nearly lost their lives. On the other hand, Yang Kai's side had reaped a bountiful harvest. Li Rong had obtained a trace of opportunity and broken through to the third-order saint realm, while Yang Kai had found and rescued a senior and his senior sister he hadn't seen in 10 years. Thunder Dragon felt that if he didn't obtain some benefits, he would be letting down this arduous journey. Let's wait until we get back. I'll give you some spirit pills when we get back. Yang Kai was also very generous. He knew that they didn't get any benefits, so they were a little upset. All right, then I'll be waiting for the good news. Lei Long laughed in satisfaction. Don't forget old Ox's share. Earth-splitting Divine Ox poked his head over. I won't, Yang Kai nodded. From now on, we'll be neighbors, and everything will depend on you 2 great seniors. You're welcome. Ha ha ha. After talking for a while, Thunder Dragon and Earth-splitting Divine Ox continued to adjust their breathing while waiting for Cai Dai and Jin Ni to recover. Yang Kai stayed by Xia Ning Chang's side. From time to time, he would check on Meng Wu Yae's situation. He was in a good mood. It had been 10 years, but the little senior sister hadn't changed much. However, her breasts had become much fuller. Her black robes accentuated her exquisite and graceful figure. Lying on the ground, her breaths rose and fell seductively. Yang Kai couldn't help but take a few more glances. Smelling the sweet fragrance of his little senior sister's body, Yang Kai felt refreshed. Master, this girl seems to have woken up. Li Rong suddenly sent him a divine sense message. Yang Kai was startled for a moment before carefully examining her. Sure enough, He found that his little senior sister's long eyelashes were trembling slightly, her breathing was uneven, and her heartbeat was stronger than usual. "When did you figure it out?" Yang Kai asked back. "When you were talking to Thunder Dragon and the others." At that time. Yang Kai thought for a moment before smiling in surprise. "Just pretend I didn't notice." Li Rong gently nodded, not knowing what Yang Kai and his senior sister were talking about. After not seeing each other for 10 years, if she had really woken up, it was only natural that they would be reunited, so how could she not open her eyes? Yang Kai, on the other hand, looked at Xia Ningchang with a gratified expression, a smile on his face. Little senior sister really hasn't changed much. After 10 years, her ability to pretend to be asleep is still the same, there's still room for improvement. Half a day later, Cai Dai and Jin Ni recovered. However, when they remembered the torture and helplessness they had suffered in that stone pillar, they still felt some lingering fear. Neither of them had ever thought that with their cultivation and ability, there would be such a dangerous place in this world. Jin and I went out to inquire about the situation and confirmed that this place was not the Beast Sea Jungle. After returning and informing everyone of this, everyone was stunned. "Then what is this place?" Yang Kai asked. "There is a small town 100 kilometers away. I went there to inquire and learned that this place is about 2 months away from your 9 heavens holy land. If we calculate with the speed of a transcendent's legs. So far." Yang Kai exclaimed. Thunder Dragon and the others also couldn't figure out the reason. Everyone had clearly entered the Beast Sea Jungle from the other side, but when they came out, they ended up in this place. In the end, they could only blame it on the void corridor they had left through. Most likely, it wasn't the same void crack they had entered. "That place is very strange. This old master entered from the demon land." At that moment, Meng Wu Ya's voice called out. It seemed that because he had just regained his strength, his voice was slightly hoarse. "Treasurer Meng," Yang Kai's spirit shook as he quickly turned to him. Meng Wu Ya smiled and nodded. "I didn't expect that the one who rescued this old master this time was actually you. It seems I'll have to find an opportunity to thank you properly some other day." Yang Kai grinned. "We're family, there's no need to be so polite." Meng Wu Ya's face went black as he coughed a few times. "You can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak whatever you want. When did we become family?" He obviously wasn't willing to admit that Xia Ningchang had a soft spot for Yang Kai. "These are." Meng Wu Ya straightened his face and turned his eyes to Thunder Dragon and the others. The 4 monster race masters all stared at Meng Wu Ya with dignified expressions, not daring to take him lightly. The one in front of them was known as the strongest master of the human race in the past. It only took him a stick of incense to defeat the Blood Flood Dragon Great Senior, and not all humans were like Yang Kai, regardless of race. If this old man hated the monster race, they had no choice but to be on guard. "These 4 are my friends from the monster race." Yang Kai immediately introduced them to Meng Wu Ya. "So you're from the monster race, no wonder your demonic chi is so strong." Meng Wu Ya nodded lightly before looking at Thunder Dragon suspiciously. "Have we met somewhere before? Why do I feel like you look familiar?" Thunder Dragon Great Senior quickly said, 500 years ago, in the Beast Sea Jungle." Meng Wu Ya frowned when he saw Thunder Dragon's disdainful expression. He wondered how he had offended Thunder Dragon, but after thinking for a while, his eyes lit up. "So you're one of Blood Flood Dragon's subordinates? It's good that your excellency remembers." Thunder Dragon smiled gently. "This king will definitely avenge the Blood Flood Dragon Great Senior." Meng Wu Ya laughed. "It wasn't this old master who killed him. He was too narrow-minded and couldn't think straight after losing for a while. Who can he blame? You're not allowed to insult the Blood Flood Dragon Great Senior." Thunder Dragon stood up and shouted. Seeing the two disagreeing, Yang Kai hurriedly tried to mediate. If they really fought at this time, he would only be caught in the middle, and Meng Wu Ya had just recovered, so it was not suitable for him to fight. "Not even half a word is enough." Thunder Dragon Great Senior coldly snorted and looked at Yang Kai. "Boy, we'll be going first. Don't forget the spirit pills you promised this king." "I'll remember," Yang Kai nodded. The 4 monster race masters quickly left and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Meng Wu Yue had a bored expression on his face as he sneered, "Smelly brat, I haven't seen you for 10 years, but you've grown so much. You actually managed to get acquainted with such a powerful character." "It's all thanks to Treasurer Meng's guidance," Yang Kai quickly said. "Don't flatter this old master." Meng Wu Yue rolled his eyes. "Don't think I don't know what you're up to. Boy, you're naturally restless, always causing trouble everywhere. I can't rest easy with Ning Chang following you around." "It's not safe to follow old master," Yang Kai teased. Meng Wu Yue suddenly choked on his words and quickly changed the topic, turning to Li Rong and asking, "How should I address this, madam?" Yang Kai hurriedly introduced her to Meng Wu Yue. Meng Wu Yue glanced at Li Rong a few times, the suspicion on his face growing stronger. "Why do I feel that this madam's secret art is somewhat unusual?" Meng Wu Yue's words were implicit, but how could Li Rong not understand his deeper meaning? Pursing her lips into a smile, she said, "Senior's observation is very sharp. I'm actually from the demon race." Meng Wu Yue's expression instantly stiffened, sending a message through his divine sense. "Boy, what the hell are you doing? Why are you associating with both the monster race and the demon race? Haven't you heard of the saying, 'Those not of my race are bound to have different intentions'?" Before Yang Kai could answer, Li Rong cut in, "Senior, if you're worried that I'll harm His Highness, then you're wrong. My race has already sworn to obey His Highness's orders and serve him for the rest of our lives." "His Highness?" Meng Wu Yue's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Looking at Li Rong and then back at Yang Kai, he asked with uncertainty, "You called him His Highness?" "Yes." Li Rong nodded seriously. Meng Wu Yue's expression fluctuated, and after a long time, he turned to Yang Kai and said, "If there's a chance, we should have a good talk." After not seeing Yang Kai for 10 years, seeing him associate himself with demon beasts, Meng Wu Yue couldn't help but worry. In particular, the strength of these monster demons was much higher than Yang Kai's, so they could easily kill him with just a wave of their hand. "Let's talk about it when we return," Yang Kai grinned, knowing that Meng Wu Yue was worried about him. "This thing is for you, but the blood chi inside it has almost been completely consumed by me." Meng Wu Yue handed over the blood essence stone. Yang Kai took it and examined it, his expression changing slightly as he asked, "Treasurer Meng, what's your cultivation now? Such a huge amount of blood chi, how did you manage to absorb so little?" Meng Wu Yue smiled. "Before entering that place, this old master was only a first-order saint, but now, I've recovered. This is all thanks to the torture and whipping I endured on that stone pillar. The energy inside destroyed the seal on my body, saving me the trouble of finding a way to undo it myself." Yang Kai's expression shook as he asked with joy, "So, your seal has been completely lifted?" "Ien," Meng Wu Yue nodded and admitted. Yang Kai's eyes lit up and his expression became excited, sincerely feeling happy for Treasurer Meng. Chapter 914. Back in High Heaven Pavilion, Meng Wu Yue had always been mysterious, and this sense of mystery had lasted all the way to the central capital. Yang Kai had never known Meng Wu Yue's true cultivation and heritage until he came to Tongxian Realm and had a chat with his ancestral founder Chu Ling Xiao. Only then did he vaguely determine Meng Wu Yue's true cultivation, third-order saint. Chu Ling Xiao had said that Meng Wu Yue had fought a great battle with the current demon commander, and after that, his fate was unknown. After learning about Meng Wu Yue's situation from Yang Kai, Chu Ling Xiao speculated that Meng Wu Yue had been struck by the demon commander's profound heavenly seal, which was why his strength had fallen to the peak immortal ascension boundary. The profound heavenly seal had a total of 3 seals, each stronger than the last. Meng Wu Yue had been searching for a way to lift these seals. When he left the central capital, he had successfully lifted the first seal and restored his strength to the peak of the second-order transcendent realm. After returning to Tongxian Realm nearly 10 years ago, he had lifted the second seal and restored his strength to the first-order saint realm. After being tortured and whipped on that stone pillar, the third seal had broken by itself and now he had returned to his peak strength. This could be considered a blessing in disguise. This old master has only restored his original strength, there's no need to be so surprised. As for you, little slick brat, after not seeing you for 10 years, How did your cultivation grow to the same level as Ningchang's? Just how many opportunities have you encountered? Meng Wu Yue swept Yang Kai with his divine sense and understood his current realm, marveling repeatedly. He was well aware of how terrifying Xia Ningchang's aptitude was and had spared no effort in teaching her over the years, allowing her to achieve what she had today. However, Yang Kai's cultivation progress was not any worse than his apprentices, catching up step by step and even showing signs of surpassing her. When he left the central capital that year, his apprentice's cultivation was higher than this little brat's. This discovery shocked Meng Wu Yue. Heh, my luck was just good, Yang Kai scratched his head. Meng Wu Yue sneered but didn't point it out. If Yang Kai had only obtained an opportunity and improved his strength, then it was indeed pure luck, but a person being able to reach such a level in 10 years was inseparable from their aptitude and hard work. This little brat, he's desperate. Meng Wu Yue's mind was clear as day. If Brother Ling knew of your recent situation, he would definitely be very pleased, Meng Wu Yue sighed, thinking of his old friend Ling Taishu from the central capital. Treasurer Meng, do you know how to return to the central capital from here? Hearing him mention his Grand Master, Yang Kai hurriedly asked. You want to bring Brother Ling and the others here as well? Meng Wu Yue guessed Yang Kai's thoughts. Yes. The cultivation environment here is much better than the other side. If Grandmaster was born here, he would have entered the Saint Realm by now. You're right, but unfortunately, this old master doesn't know how to return to the central capital. Meng Wu Yue sighed softly. Back then, this old man only came to your world by chance. I was also muddle-headed. Now, it's impossible for me to find the void corridor I passed through back then. Hearing this, Yang Kai was slightly disappointed. Your idea of bringing them here is good, but do you have enough capital to settle them down? Meng Wu Yue looked at Yang Kai with a smile. There are so many people in the central capital. If they really come to Tongxian realm, before I say anything else, do you have the strength to protect them? In addition, where they live is also a problem, and the materials they need for cultivation are even more so. It's impossible for you to take care of so many people. If you can't do these things, it's better to let them stay in the central capital. At the very least, they can cope with the situation on the other side without worrying about encountering any danger, but here is different. Old Sir doesn't need to worry about this. Li Rong chuckled and explained, Master is not alone now, he is fully capable of protecting everyone's safety. Chem? What do you mean? Meng Wu Yue glanced at Li Rong suspiciously. Because Master is now the Holy Master of Nine Heavens' Holy Land. Meng Wu Yue's expression changed as he stared at Yang Kai in a daze. After getting his affirmation, his face couldn't help twitching slightly. You actually became the Holy Master of that place? Is their saintess blind? How could she have taken a fancy to you? Yang Kai rolled his eyes, somewhat speechless. Li Rong couldn't help covering her mouth and giggling. Meng Wu Yue's expression suddenly became serious. So you mean to say that the old Holy Master of Nine Heavens' Holy Land is dead? Ian, not long after you and little senior sister left the Holy Land, Meng Wu Yue sighed. Sure enough, when I met him last time, I could see that he didn't have much time left, but I didn't expect him to pass away so quickly. However, boy, your strength increasing so quickly, could it be because you cultivated one of their Holy Land's secret arts? No. That's right, don't cultivate it. As far as I know, that secret art consumes one's vitality in order to increase one's strength. The faster one's strength increases, the shorter one's lifespan. This old master doesn't want to see Ning Chang crying every day. With your aptitude, if you cultivate diligently, sooner or later you'll reach this old master's level. Living for 1,000 years won't be a problem. There's no need to sacrifice everything for rapid growth. What Treasurer Meng says is right. I also think so, Yang Kai nodded seriously. Good. Meng Wu Yue seemed to have rested enough, his face glowing and his aura as deep as the sea. Slowly getting up, he said, since you've found a place to settle down, this old master and Ning Chang will live with you for a while. It's been hard on this little girl these past few years, always running around with me without a stable life. Saying so, he glanced over at Ning Chang, who was still pretending to be asleep, and shook his head helplessly. His precious disciple was good at everything, But she was too fond of this little bastard and was easily embarrassed. After not seeing him for 10 years, she didn't even dare open her eyes to look at him. If she followed this little brat around all the time, wouldn't he bully her to death? Thinking of this, Meng Wu Ye couldn't breathe, as if there was a fishbone stuck in his throat. He couldn't wait to choke Yang Kai to death right now. Yang Kai didn't hesitate to carry Ning Chang in his arms, the softness of her soft body causing his heart to sway. His little senior sister's tender body also gradually exuded an amazing amount of heat. "Lead the way," Meng Wu Ye said lightly, "out of sight, out of mind." When the monster race masters were still here, he had also heard their conversation and knew that this place was about 2 months away from Nine Heavens' Holy Land. Yang Kai didn't show any intention of flying through the air, instead waving his hand and summoning a blue light. This light was like a long shuttle, suspended in front of the crowd, quickly growing longer and longer until it was 10 meters long before coming to a stop. "Oh, this artifact's grade is quite good." Meng Wu Ye was a knowledgeable person, and seeing this long shuttle, his eyes couldn't help shining as he praised, "It seems that the treatment of Nine Heavens' Holy Land's Holy Master is quite generous." He naturally thought that this artifact was a treasure left behind by the previous Holy Masters of Nine Heavens' Holy Land. Li Rong, on the other hand, recognized the origin of this long shuttle and exclaimed, "Isn't this that thing? Yen, after refining it, I learned that it was a flight-type artifact." "A flight-type artifact?" Meng Wu Ye raised his brow, "Quite rare. Its speed is also quite amazing." "How amazing can it be?" Meng Wu Ye looked at Yang Kai in amazement. "You'll know once you try." Yang Kai grinned, not bothering to explain. The speed of the Flying Heavens shuttle could only be believed after experiencing it with one's own eyes. No words could describe its swiftness. "Two friends, please board." Meng Wu Ye and Li Rong didn't say anything else and jumped onto the Flying Heavens shuttle. Yang Kai carried Xia Ning Chang to the back of the shuttle and sat down cross-legged, letting his little senior sister settle into a comfortable position before saying, "Sit tight." With a single thought, the Flying Heavens shuttle turned into a stream of light and, as if it had broken through the shackles of space, instantly crossed 100 kilometers. Sitting at the front of the Flying Heavens shuttle, Meng Wu Ye couldn't help but stare in shock, his divine sense spreading out like a tide. After discovering just how astonishing the speed of this artifact was, his body couldn't help shaking. Li Rong also covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Little brat, how can this artifact have such a strange speed? Who refined it?" After a long time, Meng Wu Ye's divine sense transmitted over, his voice filled with disbelief. The Flying Heavens shuttle's flight speed was several times faster than a peak master like him flying at full strength. "I don't know who refined it, but Li Rong and I accidentally found it in the star field a year ago." Yang Kai briefly explained how he obtained the Flying Heavens shuttle. He didn't feel the need to hide anything from Meng Wu Ye, so naturally he would tell him everything. "Starfield? You went deep into the starfield?" Meng Wu Ye asked in shock. "Yen. If you want to go, I'll take you there some other day." Yang Kai thought Meng Wu Ye had some interest in the legendary starfield. "No need." Unexpectedly, Meng Wu Ye slowly shook his head, his expression dignified as he pondered for a moment before saying, "This old master should have been to the starfield before." "Old sir, what do you mean by should have been?" Li Rong was puzzled and asked with a light smile. "Because this old master was also in a daze when he was bound to that stone pillar," Meng Wu Ye explained. Meng Wu Ye recalled and explained, "I always felt that that place was extraordinary. When I was being tortured there, this old master's soul seemed to have left his body and gone to many places, the starry sky being one of them. Those places were scattered all over Tongxian realm, separated by tens of thousands of kilometers. However, because of the torment, my mind was somewhat muddled and I couldn't remember them clearly." Pausing for a moment, he continued, "Little Yang Kai, I always have a bad feeling that you shouldn't have destroyed that place." Treasurer Meng also said that. Yang Kai was surprised. "Who told you that?" "Great Demon God's soul clone. He said that place was the hub of the entire world and that if I destroyed it, I would have to pay an unimaginable price." "Hub?" Meng Wu Ye frowned and asked again, "What else did he say?" Yang Kai thought about it for a moment before replying. He also said that this world had been sealed for a long time and that it was time to see the light of day again. Meng Wu Ya looked pensive but didn't say anything, as if he was contemplating something. Chapter 9:15. Seeing his dignified expression, Yang Kai hurriedly asked, "Treasurer Meng, what is the hidden meaning of his words? What is this sealed world he spoke of? This old master doesn't know." Meng Wu Ya slowly shook his head, "But don't tell anyone else about this for the time being. Let me think about it carefully." "Oh." Yang Kai nodded, recalling the words of the great demon god's soul clone. He also recalled that the great demon god had told him to go to the demon capital, where he would naturally learn the secret. However, how could a place like the demon capital be so casually visited? Flying forward, the flying heavens shuttle moved as fast as lightning. Meng Wu Ya calmed his thoughts and was amazed by the speed of this artifact. Yang Kai hugged his little senior sister as they sat at the very back of the flying heavens shuttle. Smelling her fragrance and feeling the softness and warmth of her body, his mind and body suddenly relaxed. Hugging her even tighter, the little senior sister's tender body trembled slightly, her long eyelashes trembling as her aura became hot and her delicate face flushed red. Being hugged by Yang Kai, the two of them could feel each other's body temperature rising and their heartbeats becoming stronger. For the pure and innocent little senior sister, this was undoubtedly a bit too stimulating. Yang Kai didn't wake her up, simply enjoying this moment of tranquility as he stared at his little senior sister's face and whispered softly, "Little senior sister, you are so beautiful." Sitting at the front, Meng Wu Ya couldn't help but shudder and angrily spat, "Shameless." When those explicit words of love entered his ears, he couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Even Li Rong's eyes were watery as she pursed her lips and moved forward a bit, distancing herself from Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang. She tried to find something to say to Meng Wu Ya, "Old sir, if you don't have anything else to say, why don't you tell me about Master's past? Our faction's understanding of him is still very shallow." "You want to know about his past?" Meng Wu Ya raised his eyebrows and laughed sinisterly. "This old man knows a basket full of his past. Come, this old man will tell you in detail. I will let you know how shameless this master of yours is, and how much of a hoodlum he is. This guy is purely a lecher. Wherever he goes, he'll flirt with women." Li Rong pursed her lips and chuckled. She did not interrupt and only listened attentively. Meng Wu Ya immediately started talking non-stop, as if he was afraid that Yang Kai would hear his bad words. He waved his hand and created a barrier around him and Li Rong. Yang Kai turned a blind eye and became even bolder. Holding the little senior sister's soft hand, Yang Kai gently rubbed it and leaned close to her face, gently blowing into her ear, "For 10 years, I wanted to see you every day. Now, I finally got what I wanted, and we met under such circumstances. Little senior sister, don't you think this is fate? It should be the heavens who arranged for me to go to that place and save the most important woman in my life." The little senior sister's eyelashes trembled even more violently, seemingly moved by Yang Kai's words. Her slender neck rose slightly, her white skin glowing with an attractive luster. "Thinking about it now, junior brother is very glad. If I hadn't gone with Li Rong, I'm afraid I really wouldn't have been able to see you this time," Yang Kai said, a trace of fear appearing on his face. The two monster race great seniors had mainly asked Li Rong to go to that place, and Yang Kai had only volunteered to follow them, but he had not expected to meet Meng Wu Ya and Xia Ningchang there. This was a bit too much of a coincidence. In the past 10 years, I've met all kinds of women here, many of them beautiful, but none of them were as touching as you and Su Yang. You've left an unforgettable brand in junior brother's heart. As long as you're safe and sound, junior brother is satisfied." These worthless words of love slowly flowed out from Kai Yang's mouth. They were as gentle as water, and like a sweet spring, they flowed into Xia Ningchang's heart. Unexpectedly, she took the initiative to hug Kai Yang tightly. The strength of her two small hands was great, as if she wanted to melt into Kai Yang's body. Yang Kai raised his head and looked towards the little senior sister, only to see the little senior sister's beautiful eyes watery, her cheeks flushed red, her neck flushed, and her breath fragrant. As their eyes met, the little senior sister shyly averted her gaze and murmured, "What you say is so beautiful. Say a little more." After making this request, she quickly closed her eyes and buried her head in Yang Kai's chest, not daring to look at him. No problem. Naturally, Kai Yang wouldn't disappoint her, so he racked his brains to express his feelings of lovesickness. Those explicit words of love were like a curse, fiercely attacking Xia Ningqiang's heart, causing her heart to tremble and her tender body to tremble. Feeling Yang Kai's body temperature and listening to his voice, Xia Ningqiang was satisfied. Even if she died immediately, it wouldn't matter. Smelly brat. Meng Wu Ya ground his teeth, his eyes flashing an ominous light. Li Rong chuckled, "Old sir, you don't need to worry too much. With master's aptitude, he can definitely give that girl happiness." Ha! Treasurer Meng sighed faintly. "That girl has grown up, I can't keep her." "Forget it, this old master will go to Nine Heavens Holy Land and retire in peace." "Old sir, what are you saying? You're old but vigorous, master will need you to assist him in the future." Meng Wu Ya sneered, turning his head to look at Li Rong. "You're quite loyal to that little brat, with you by his side, this old master can feel at ease. However, you should be careful, don't be deceived by his appearance, otherwise you'll end up like this old master's treasured disciple. He may look like a human, but in fact, he's worse than a beast." Li Rong blushed, "Old sir must be joking. My ancient demon clan is master's blade, no one dares disobey master's orders." "Don't call me old sir, you and I are both third-order saints, so we should be friends of the same generation," Meng Wu Ya chuckled. "That won't do, you are master's senior, so naturally you are my senior." Li Rong quickly waved her hand. Seeing her like this, Meng Wu Ya felt bored and immediately closed his eyes to meditate. Behind him, the whispers of Yang Kai and Xia Ningqiang could be heard, the two seemingly having a very pleasant conversation. In just 2 short days, the 9 peaks came into view. The Flying Heavens shuttle's flight speed was terrifying to the extreme. A blue light flashed across the sky and rushed straight into the 9 peaks. A group of people appeared, and upon perceiving the auras of these masters, the Saint Realm masters of the Holy Land all rushed over. Meng Wu Ya on the other hand frowned, releasing his divine sense and asking suspiciously, "Little Yang Kai, why are there so many people outside your Nine Heavens Holy Land? What are they doing here?" "They're here to ask for alchemy," Yang Kai grinned. "Ask for alchemy?" Meng Wu Ya raised his brow disdainfully. "Does your Nine Heavens Holy Land have an alchemy grandmaster?" "Master is a saint-grade alchemist." Li Rong quickly explained, "The people here are all here because of his reputation, but outsiders don't know the true identity of this alchemy grandmaster." "Oh, you know alchemy?" Meng Wu Ya stared at Yang Kai in surprise. "It's just SOSO, of course I can't compare to little senior sister." Yang Kai glanced over at Xia Ningqiang who was standing next to him. "At least you have some self-awareness." Meng Wu Ya nodded. Li Rong raised her brow as she stared at Xia Ningqiang in amazement, a look of suspicion filling her face. She knew Yang Kai's alchemy level better than anyone else, but listening to what he said, it seemed his little senior sister's alchemy skills were even better than his own. How was that possible? As the 3 of them were talking, many Saint Realm masters flew over from all directions, including several elders of Nine Heavens Holy Land and several great commanders of the ancient demon clan. After seeing Yang Kai return, everyone was overjoyed. Shu Hui and the others quickly stepped forward and bowed, a look of relief filling their faces as they shouted, "Holy Master, you've finally returned. If you hadn't returned, this old master would have committed suicide." "What's wrong? Did something happen in the Holy Land?" Yang Kai was taken aback. "It's nothing serious, it's just that those grandmasters have been inquiring about your whereabouts all day long and want you to return as soon as possible. Moreover, you were gone for 3 months, during which time those grandmasters were almost exhausted from performing alchemy and were constantly looking for you. I couldn't avoid them." "Ah!" Yang Kai was stunned. He had almost forgotten about Du Wan and the others. When Shu Hui said this, Yang Kai remembered that after he left, the Holy Land's alchemy had been handed over to the 5 grandmasters. After 3 months of refining pills, they must have been exhausted. Those grandmasters were all quite old, but now they were working for free in the Holy Land. Yang Kai suddenly felt a pang of guilt. Pass down my orders. The Holy Land will not be providing alchemy services for the next 10 days. Let the grandmasters rest. Yang Kai ordered. But more and more people are coming to ask for alchemy services. If we stop now, won't that provoke public anger? Shu Hui showed a worried look. It was because of this concern that after Yang Kai left, they hadn't dared to rest. Just say that my Holy Land's grandmasters are ill and need to recuperate for a while. Since they have come to ask for alchemy services, they must be patient. If they don't have the patience, they can just leave. Just tell them to wait for 10 days. I didn't say we wouldn't be providing alchemy services, so they won't dare complain. On top of that, if they went elsewhere to ask for alchemy services, the wait would only be longer. Yes, Shu Hui nodded and quickly ordered the disciple next to him to pass the message to the elders outside. After arranging everything, Shu Hui turned his eyes to Meng Wu Yue and exclaimed, "Isn't this the friend of the old Holy Master?" The last time Meng Wu Yue came here with Xia Ningchang, he had only spoken with the old Holy Master. Although he had been a guest in the Holy Land for a few days, Shu Hui and the other elders didn't know his origins, so naturally they didn't know his name, only his appearance. "Allow me to introduce you, this is my sect's senior, Meng Wu Yue," Yang Kai said. "Pleased to meet you." Shu Hui cupped his fists and greeted, feeling the strength of this newcomer. His expression became extremely dignified. He felt that the person in front of him was much stronger than the last time he had come. However, this person's name. Shu Hui felt like he had heard it somewhere before, but after carefully thinking about it, he couldn't remember where, slowly shaking his head in confusion. Chapter 9:16. In a large square inside the Holy Land, a large crowd of Saint Realm masters had gathered. Yang Kai introduced Treasurer Meng and Xia Ningchang to them. The elders of the Holy Land and the great commanders of the ancient demon clan all nodded in greeting. Hearing that Xia Ningchang and Yang Kai were from the same sect and were even senior sister and junior brother, everyone's expressions suddenly became dignified, none of them daring to show the slightest neglect. Especially after seeing the intimacy between Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang, all of them immediately had a clear guess about the relationship between these two. "I thought our Holy Master wouldn't be tempted by a woman, but it turns out his heart already belongs to someone else." Elder Yu Ying stood on the periphery and chuckled. "Poor Ling Cheng Yu Tong couldn't help feeling distressed for Ling The elders of the Holy Land all thought that Xi and Yang Kai had begun to cultivate their secret art, but little did they know that Ling had already colluded with Yang Kai. Ling should know about this, Yu Ying smiled. For a character like the Holy Master, it's normal for him to have several women. Ling isn't a petty person, so why should I be afraid she won't be tolerant? On top of that, I can see that this girl is a docile person, she won't compete with Ling for favor. I hope so. Cheng Yu Tong nodded lightly. Meng Wu Yue? At that moment, Shu Hui suddenly exclaimed, his eyes widening as he stared towards Treasurer Meng, a look of excitement filling his face. "Great Elder, what's your name? Didn't I just introduce him to you?" Yang Kai was stunned. "I remember this name. The human race's strongest master several hundred years ago also had this name." "You couldn't be. Strongest master?" Treasurer Meng frowned and smiled bitterly. "The world is too kind. This Meng is nothing more than a reckless man. He really doesn't deserve to be called the first or second." "It's really you?" Shu Hui was shocked. The other elders were also stunned as they stared at Meng Wu Yue blankly, as if a sledgehammer had struck all of them unconscious. After being reminded by Shu Hui, they finally remembered the name Meng Wu Yue. "I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. I never thought that I would be able to meet Brother Meng in this life. It is truly an honor of 3 lifetimes. When Yang Kai had introduced Meng Wu Yue to him just now, he had just casually greeting him. After all, the current 9 Heavens Holy Land was at the height of its prestige, and as the Holy Land's great elder, Yang Kai's status was extremely high. He didn't put ordinary people in his eyes. Because he was Yang Kai's senior, Shu Hui took the initiative to greet him. However, at this moment, after confirming the identity of the person in front of him, his attitude immediately changed. There was even a hint of worship. Good, Treasurer Meng and little senior sister will be living in our Nine Heavens Holy Land from now on. There will be plenty of time to communicate. Yang Kai waved his hand, interrupting Shu Hui's chatter. Oh! If Brother Meng wishes to stay in the Holy Land, you are most welcome. Shu Hui's eyes lit up with pleasant surprise. Treasurer Meng and little senior sister can live in the Holy Master Court. That is where I usually live. What do you think? Yang Kai looked at Meng Wu Yue and asked. Good, as long as it is peaceful. Meng Wu Yue nodded. Then come with me, Yang Kai beckoned. Holy Master, let Elder Yu Ying handle this matter. Subordinate still has something important to report. Shu Hui saw Yang Kai about to leave and quickly stopped him. Can't you speak about it later? It's a matter of great importance, Shu Hui said seriously. Yang Kai hesitated for a moment before helplessly nodding. Good, Elder Yu Ying, I'll have to trouble you to take them to the Holy Master Court and have Linger make arrangements for them. Yes, please come with me, Yu Ying said. Xia Ning Chang glanced over at Yang Kai with some reluctance before leaving with Yu Ying. Master, there's nothing else to do here. I'll go back and rest first. Li Rong excused herself and left with the other great commanders of the ancient demon clan, returning to the mountain peak where they lived. Soon, only Yang Kai and the Holy Land's elders remained in the square. What made all of you so nervous? Yang Kai was somewhat dissatisfied with Shu Hui disturbing his reunion with little senior sister and asked. It's the Holy Tomb. Shu Hui quickly replied, there's been some problems with the Holy Tomb. Holy Master should come and take a look. What could possibly happen in the Holy Tomb? Yang Kai didn't care. The Holy Tomb was one of Nine Heavens Holy Land's restricted areas, the resting place of all the previous Holy Masters, but since Yang Kai entered it last time, it had become empty. Later, the Holy Land's 3,000 disciples had taken refuge in it for 2 or 3 years. Such a deserted, mysterious small world had almost no other purpose besides being used for secluded cultivation. Yang Kai didn't know what could possibly have happened to it. In front of the Holy Tomb, a group of people came to a stop. Yang Kai stared at the huge blue stone, his expression becoming dignified. There was a barrier on this huge blue stone that required the Holy Master Spirit Ring on Yang Kai's hand to open the entrance to the mysterious small world. But at this moment, at the center of the huge blue stone, a dark void corridor was silently opening, like the maw of a great beast. 1,000 meters away from the Holy Tomb, several elders had joined forces to arrange a barrier, preventing ordinary disciples from approaching. What's going on? Yang Kai asked. Why did the Holy Tomb suddenly open? Subordinate and the others don't know the whole story, but it suddenly opened on its own. In order to prevent disciples from entering without knowing the depth of the situation, we set up a barrier around it with the other elders. Have you gone in to investigate? Yang Kai turned to Shu Hui. Subordinate and Elder Shakuan have been inside. What did you find? Nothing, the Holy Tomb doesn't seem to have been affected. I'll go in and take a look, you wait here, Yang Kai ordered before diving in. After a stick of incense worth of time, Yang Kai returned from the Holy Tomb with a strange look on his face. Just as Shu Hui said, besides the entrance to the Holy Tomb opening on its own, there was no change inside the Holy Tomb. The world energy aura was as rich as ever, and there was no sign of danger. After observing for a long time, Yang Kai still couldn't figure out what was going on and asked, when did this happen? About 2 or 3 days ago. 2 or 3 days ago? Yang Kai's eyes narrowed, suddenly feeling a sense of foreboding. What's wrong, Holy Master? Did you discover something? Yang Kai shook his head. 2 or 3 days ago seemed to be when he rescued Treasurer Meng and Xia Ning Chang. However, there shouldn't be any relationship between the two, right? After all, the distance between them was simply too great, a 2-month journey. Was it a coincidence? Don't let the disciples get close to this place for the time being. There may be some kind of danger, let's observe for a while first. Yang Kai was also somewhat helpless about this. The entrance to the mysterious small world had suddenly opened, but he couldn't figure out the specific reason for it. All the elders received this order and quickly arranged the deployment. Returning to the Holy Master Court, Yang Kai had just stepped inside when he felt many pairs of eyes turn towards him. The 5 grandmasters were all standing there, seemingly having heard the news of his return and had come out to greet him. "Little brat, you're too unkind. You've been gone for 3 months, you've caused this old master and the others to suffer," Chang Bao shouted as soon as he saw Yang Kai. He was the manager of Lightning Flash City's Alchemist Guild and a Saint-grade alchemist. His status was extremely high. Normally, when he helped others perform alchemy, it would depend on his mood and whether or not the person requesting it was to his liking. Only occasionally would he refine 1 or 2 saint pills. However, there had never been a time like this where he had to refine pills for 3 months in a row. What's more, he had to refine a certain number of pills every day. It was as if he had come to 9 Heavens Holy Land to work for Yang Kai without any benefits. After 3 months, Chang Bao had lost several dozen kilograms of fat and his figure was much slimmer than before. "Ian, we were discussing a few days ago that if you didn't come back, we would just throw away our responsibilities and leave. How could we care about the reputation of your 9 Heavens Holy Land?" Hong Fang also chimed in. "Enough, the 2 of you don't need to act like you haven't received any benefit." Kong Ruo Yu glared at them. "Thanks to these 3 months of alchemy, which one of you hasn't gained a lot? Not to mention that Du Wn has become a saint-grade mid-rank alchemist, but haven't you all seen some hope? It's been tiring, but your harvest has also not been small." Being reprimanded by Kong Ruo Yu, neither of them dared to refute, simply glaring at Yang Kai. Hastily stepping forward, Kai Yang apologetically cupped his fists and said, "I'm really sorry, I didn't think that this trip would take so long. I originally thought that it would only take a few days, but there were so many accidents. This junior must also thank several grandmasters. Thanks to all of you, the Holy Land has been able to maintain the reputation it has accumulated during this time. It's good you know." He Feng nodded with satisfaction. He Feng nodded in satisfaction. "You left us old men here to do manual labor. Tell me, what do you want to do to satisfy us?" Yang Kai's eyes darted around for a moment before he noticed his little senior sister sitting nearby whispering to An Ling his eyes lighting up as he grinned meaningfully. "I've ordered all those outside to wait for 10 days. During these 10 days, the Holy Land will not be providing any alchemy services. Several grandmasters should take advantage of this opportunity to rest. Resting alone won't satisfy our appetites." Chang Bao shook his head. 10 days, after 10 days, this junior will certainly satisfy several grandmasters. "Good." Chang Bao's fat face filled with a smile. "We don't have any other requests. As long as you perform alchemy in front of us, we will be satisfied. Grandmasters, please wait and see. I guarantee you will be pleasantly surprised." Yang Kai grinned. The several grandmasters looked at each other, wondering what kind of medicine Yang Kai was trying to sell. Du Wn smiled and said, "Don't force yourself too much. There's only 10 days left, you should take a good rest. Ian, I see you're anxious to talk to that girl, so us old fogies won't disturb you. Since arriving here, we haven't enjoyed the scenery here. Several old friends, do you have the leisure to go sightseeing?" "Good, sitting in the house all the time, it's time to stretch my bones." Chapter 9:17. You guys chat, I'll leave first. Little sister Ning Chang, if there's anything you don't understand, you can come find me at any time. I also live in the Holy Master Court. Seeing that the 5 masters had left, and Ling tactfully left as well. Ian, I'll have to trouble big sister in the future. Xia Ning Chang gently nodded as she watched An Ling back disappear. In the next moment, she felt herself being carried by Yang Kai. She couldn't help but let out a soft cry as her 2 small hands tightly wrapped around Yang Kai's neck. She hurriedly said, "Junior brother, what are you doing? I have a lot of things to tell you." Yang Kai smiled as he carried her towards his room. "I also have things to say." Xia Ning Chang rested her head on Yang Kai's shoulder. In the side room, on the fragrant bed, Yang Kai sat on the edge of the bed while his little senior sister was placed on his lap, maintaining an extremely intimate position. The two's bodies were closely pressed together, their chests touching. Yang Kai's eyes were burning like fire as the corners of his mouth curved into a mischievous smile. His 2 large hands were wantonly mischievous. The little senior sister was wearing a pitch-black dress. Her beautiful figure was exquisite and childish, and her soft breasts were full and full. Feeling Yang Kai's hands moving across her waist and between her thighs, those 10 fingers brought forth waves of shuddering numbness. Her beautiful eyes were watery and her delicate face was blushing with shyness, not daring to look directly at him. Her breathing gradually became heavy, and the heat emitted from her delicate body was scorching hot. Yang Kai turned a blind eye as he continued to take advantage of her. His mood was extremely carefree, and he became more and more unrestrained. "Junior brother, don't be like this." Xia Ning Chang lightly bit her red lips, her voice as soft as a mosquito's. "Like what?" Yang Kai mischievously asked. He didn't know why, but when he saw his little senior sister's expression, he was especially excited. It was as if he wanted to see the limits of his little senior sister's shyness. "That's it. I feel so uncomfortable." Xia Ning Chang gathered her courage and held Yang Kai's hand to stop it from moving around her waist. The sensation from her thighs became even more acute, and she couldn't help but clamp her legs together. At this moment, the little senior sister suddenly felt her senses increase by several hundred times. She could clearly feel every change in Yang Kai's body. In her chest, her heart was beating violently. The powerful thumping sound was like the beating of a war drum. Xia Ning Chang had never experienced this kind of spiritual and physical throbbing. For a moment, her heart was in a mess and she didn't know how to deal with it. She was at a loss. "Didn't you bring me here to talk to me?" Xia Ning Chang tried her best to keep her mind clear, but there was an irresistible feeling that attacked her mind like a tidal wave, causing her to be confused and bewildered. "Aren't we talking right now?" Yang Kai looked at her with a smile. "Oh." Xia Ning Chang couldn't refute. She couldn't take it anymore. She felt her whole body go soft, as if she had been thrown into a volcano. The heat in her body rolled, and the forbidden area unknowingly became hot and humid. "Little senior sister, what do you want to say?" Yang Kai asked again. I don't know. It's fine like this." Xia Ning Chang closed her eyes. Her whole body's weight was leaning on Yang Kai's body. It seemed that she had never been so satisfied before. Looking at her appearance, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel restless. He almost couldn't control himself. He hurriedly operated his secret art to dispel the evil thoughts in his heart. His hands stopped moving, and he quietly looked at her, waiting for her to calm down. After a while, Xia Ning Chang opened her shy eyes. She couldn't help but show an expression that she wanted to continue. Yang Kai sat up straight and said seriously, "When everything is settled, we will continue the next thing." Xia Ning Chang gently nodded. She lowered her head and said softly, "Junior brother, whenever you want." Yang Kai's eyes lit up. He hugged her even tighter. For the shy little senior sister to say such words, she must have mustered up her courage. "Now let's talk properly. I have a lot of things to ask you." Yang Kai was satisfied. "Junior brother, what do you want to ask?" Xia Ning Chang asked softly. "How did you survive these past 10 years? "I just followed Master everywhere." Xia Ning Chang leaned on Yang Kai's chest and recalled her experiences in the past 10 years. Yang Kai listened quietly. It was as if he was experiencing the hardships of his little senior sister in the past 10 years. After a long time, the little senior sister finished and asked about Yang Kai's situation during this time. Yang Kai naturally didn't hide anything. As time passed, the two seemed to have endless whispers of love. They chatted softly, enjoying this quiet time that belonged only to the two of them. "Right, senior sister Su Yang is in a place called Ice Sect." Xia Ning Chang suddenly remembered something and raised her head. "I know, I went to look for her." Yang Kai grinned. "The environment there is very suitable for her cultivation. When I went there, she was still in retreat. After communicating with her divine sense for a while, she left. I don't know how she's doing now. Junior brother, do you want to find her and bring her back? Let's wait until we're done here. When we're done, we'll go and pick her up together." "Good." Xia Ning Chang nodded heavily and leaned forward again. "What about the old demon? Do you have any news about him?" Yang Kai hesitated for a moment before asking. Xia Ning Chang shook his head. "When we came here together from the central capital, Senior Old Demon separated from us. He said he was going to the Demon Land, but Master and I also went to the Demon Land and didn't hear any news about him. We also don't know where Senior Old Demon is now. That old demon, there's no need to worry about him. It won't be easy for others to kill him. Yang Kai smiled faintly. The old demon's cultivation may not be very high right now, but his physique was extraordinary. It belonged to a demon general. It was the body of a peak Third Order saint. Only masters in the same realm could hurt him. As such, Yang Kai had never been worried about the old devil. After all, there weren't many Third Order Saint Realm Masters out there. The days I spent in High Heaven Pavilion are more nostalgic. At that time, there was nothing to worry about. Although I was very weak, I didn't know the mysteries of transcendence, Xia Ningchang whispered softly, a look of nostalgia flashing across her beautiful eyes. Yang Kai also sighed. As my strength increased, so did the things I encountered. As he spoke, Yang Kai suddenly thought of something and said in surprise, "Right, little senior sister, I have something good for you." "What is it?" Xia Ningchang sat up straight and looked at Yang Kai. Kai Yang had already taken out a jade bottle. Inside the jade bottle were 2 drops of crystal clear liquid. As soon as she saw these 2 drops of liquid, Xia Ningchang's eyes became dignified, seemingly realizing that they were extraordinary. "What is this?" "The medicinal liquid of the 1,000-year demon flower," Yang Kai replied. Xia Ningchang couldn't help covering her mouth. Obviously, she had also heard of this thing before and exclaimed, "Is this the medicinal liquid of the 1,000-year demon flower that bloomed in Floating Cloud City in the neutral territory?" "Yes, little senior sister also knows about it. At that time, Master said that he would take me there to see if I could encounter some kind of opportunity, but because there were too many people and it was too dangerous, Master wasn't sure he could protect me, so we left midway." Xia Ningchang said so, a strange light flashing across her beautiful eyes. "So, junior brother was also there at that time?" Yang Kai said with a pained expression, "So you were there too?" Xia Ningchang gently nodded. The two of them stared at each other for a moment, both wearing looks of regret. At that time in Floating Cloud City, neither of them had known of the other's existence and had simply brushed past each other, resulting in them meeting again many years later. So it turns out that this thing was obtained by junior brother. Although I obtained it, there was another person who took the credit. You should know him. Yang Kai smiled and didn't keep her in suspense, continuing, "A young man named Zhai Yao, do you remember him? Li Laro's apprentice." Little senior sister really had an impression of him. "I remember him, I even competed with him in alchemy." Yang Kai smiled and nodded. Zhai Yao seemed to be quite unconvinced and said that the next time he saw you, he must compete with you again, but I believe that he is not senior sister's opponent. "I don't know, I only won by a narrow margin at that time. He has Li Laro's guidance, so his alchemy is not bad." Xia Ningchang was very modest. "You have the sacred spirit medicine body, when it comes to alchemy, no one can compare to you," Yang Kai said, taking out an empty jade bottle and extracting a drop of the 1,000-year demon flower's medicinal liquid, handing it to little senior sister and saying, "When the time is right, refine this medicinal liquid, it should help you enter the saint realm. The sacred spirit medicine body can refine all the spirit grasses and spirit medicines in the world without any side effects. You are more suitable than anyone else to use this thing to enter the saint realm." Thank you junior brother, but I still need some time to accumulate my current cultivation." Xia Ningchang did not act politely with Yang Kai and solemnly received the bottle and put it into her universe bag. "Come, I still have a gift for you," Yang Kai said as he picked her up and jumped onto the bed. Placing her opposite him and sitting down cross-legged, Yang Kai quickly said, "Release the defenses of your knowledge sea." Xia Ningchang did not hesitate and immediately did as she was told. The next moment, she felt Yang Kai's divine sense pouring in. Inside Xia Ningchang's knowledge sea, there was a beautiful scenery, just like her pure nature. The world inside one's knowledge sea often reflected one's heart. The 2 soul avatars appeared and stood opposite each other, Yang Kai asking, "Do you still remember the true alchemic way I taught you before?" "Of course I remember, thanks to it, my alchemy technique has improved so quickly." The last time I taught you in War City, I hadn't fully comprehended the true alchemic way, so I only taught you half of it, but now I can teach you all of it. Hearing this, Xia Ningchang's face lit up with joy. Little senior sister, what is your current level of alchemy? Yang Kai asked again. I haven't been certified by the Alchemist Guild, but I can refine saint-grade mid-rank pills. Xia Ningchang replied, a look of annoyance appearing on her face, but after reaching this point, there is no way to improve further. Saint-grade materials are too difficult to find, so there isn't much opportunity to practice. Although Yang Kai had some faint speculations, when his guess was confirmed, he was still shocked by Xia Ningchang's alchemy aptitude. Chapter 9:18. Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang were both saint-grade mid-rank alchemists, but the amount of time and resources they spent on alchemy were completely different. For the past 10 years, Xia Ningchang had been running around with Meng Wu Yue and rarely had a stable day to spend on improving his alchemy technique. On top of that, Treasurer Meng could not easily gather the materials needed for alchemy like Yang Kai and constantly squander them to practice alchemy. It could be said that Yang Kai's alchemy technique had grown to its current level entirely due to the accumulation of time and a large number of materials. Little senior sister, on the other hand, had extraordinary talent and a special physique, so the amount of time she spent on alchemy and the number of spirit grasses and spirit medicines she consumed was only a fraction of what Yang Kai had. She had also reached the level of a saint-grade mid-rank alchemist. Comparing the two, it was obvious who was superior. Shocked, Yang Kai was also full of joy. The more powerful his little senior sister was, the happier he was. Unlike other men, who were afraid that the woman they liked would surpass them in some territory, Yang Kai felt a sense of accomplishment. Rest assured, in the future, you will have a lot of herbs to practice with here. I believe your alchemy technique will soon improve and it won't be long before you reach the same level as Li Lao. Yang Kai grinned and stretched out his hand, sending a white light towards Xia Ningchang's soul avatar. This light contains all the knowledge of the true alchemic way. Little senior sister, take some time to comprehend it. I know. Xia Ningchang opened his mind and body, allowing the light containing the true alchemic way to integrate into his soul avatar and immediately began comprehending it. Yang Kai didn't disturb him and quietly left. Leaving his room, Yang Kai came to the main hall of the Holy Master Court. And Ling was holding an account book and seemed to be counting the harvest of the Holy Land during this period, her pretty face filled with joy. Yang Kai's arrival did not alarm her. She was still immersed in the work in front of her, constantly recording something. It wasn't until Yang Kai sat in front of her and poured himself a glass of water that Linga looked up at him. She pursed her lips and smiled. What? It's been a long time since we last met, shouldn't we spend more time together? Why did you come out in just 2 days? Yang Kai's expression became awkward. I've said what I should say. What else do you want? Just saying. Linga curled her lips. What do you think we're doing inside? Yang Kai found that her expression was quite strange, and immediately understood that she must have some strange thoughts in her mind. Who knows? It's normal for a single man and a single woman to be together for a lifetime, and Linga teased. She seemed to be in a good mood. You're not jealous, are you? Kai Yang stared at her in amazement. And Linga snorted. Don't flatter yourself. The elders all think that we have that kind of relationship. Don't take it seriously. You should be the first saintess to dare speak to the Holy Master in such a manner, Yang Kai chuckled. Who told you to be different from the previous Holy Masters? It was you who gave up this opportunity. All right, I won't talk nonsense with you. All of the Holy Land's income is here. Do you want to take a look? Let me see. Yang Kai casually picked up the account book in front of her and skimmed through it. It was densely filled with records of what kind of pills the Holy Land's grandmasters refined and what kind of rewards they received. Everything was recorded in detail. Most of those rewards were crystal stones of equal value, but there were also many rare materials, and even secret treasures, secret manuals, and cultivation methods. There were all kinds of strange things. Yang Kai felt a headache coming on and tossed the account book back. Forget it, just keep recording. Sweeping the Holy Master court with his divine sense, Yang Kai asked in surprise, "Where is Treasurer Meng? Why isn't he here?" Hearing him ask this, Enlinga replied, "If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. Senior Meng said that he would be going out for a while and that you should take good care of his disciple. He also said that if you dare bully her, you won't be able to bear the consequences." He went out. When did he go out? Did he say when he would be back? He left yesterday and didn't say when he would be back, and Linga shook her head. Yang Kai couldn't help frowning. Although he didn't know why Meng Wu Ya had left the Holy Land as soon as he arrived, he could faintly guess that there was some unusual information. It was probably related to the strange world he had entered before and even the words Great Demon God's soul clone had said. However, Treasurer Meng's strength had now been restored to its peak, so as long as he didn't go to the demon capital to challenge the demon commander like before, he shouldn't be in any danger. While contemplating though, Shu Hui suddenly rushed in from the outside and called out, "Holy Master, Wizard Tribulation requests an audience." Yang Kai raised his brow. "Wizard Tribulation? Something seems to have happened, his expression is a bit strange," Shu Hui reported. "Let him in," Yang Kai hurriedly said. It had been several months since Yang Kai last saw Wizard Tribulation, but from what Shu Hui and the others said, after absorbing many elites from Shattering Mystical Palace and War Spirit Temple, Wizard Tribulation's Netherworld sect had greatly increased its strength and was now developing well. A moment later, the black-robed Wizard Tribulation appeared and cupped his fists. "Holy Master, Master, Sect Master Wizard," Yang Kai nodded lightly. "Has something happened?" Wizard Tribulation nodded lightly and quickly said, "There is something, it's related to the stone forest in Shattering Mystical Palace." Yang Kai's expression changed. "What happened to that stone forest?" "Holy Master, Master, if it's convenient, please follow me to have a look," Wizard Tribulation did not explain. However, from his demeanor and tone, Yang Kai faintly guessed something and no longer said anything, nodding and stepping out of the Holy Master court. Sending a divine sense message to Li Rong, the three of them flew towards Shattering Mystical Palace. "Master, is there a problem?" Li Rong asked in confusion. "Wizard Tribulation said something happened in that stone forest and asked me to go take a look." "Stone forest?" Li Rong raised her brow. "That stone forest that leads to Starfield? Ien. What happened there?" "I don't know," Yang Kai shook his head. After a stick of incense worth of time, the three of them arrived above the stone forest where they had last arrived. Looking around, Yang Kai couldn't help narrowing his eyes. In the center of the stone forest, a dark entrance opened silently, just like the situation in the Holy Tomb. Li Rong covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Who opened the entrance to Starfield?" Wizard Tribulation shook his head. "It was accidentally discovered by one of my disciples. Because this wizard knows that this place is important to Holy Master, Master, since last time, I ordered my disciples not to enter or leave Shattering Mystical Palace. However, yesterday, a few disciples were flying nearby when they suddenly discovered the situation below. Curious, several of them went in to investigate but never returned. The remaining disciples hurriedly returned to the sect and told me what had happened, after which I immediately rushed to Nine Heavens' Holy Land." Listening to his story, Yang Kai nodded lightly. "You should be glad you didn't go in to investigate yourself." Wizard Tribulation smiled. "This wizard knows his place. So, is that really the entrance to Starfield?" "Ien, last time Li Rong and I went in to investigate, it really does lead to the legendary Starfield. Anyone below the Third Order Saint Realm who enters will die without a doubt. Your disciples shouldn't have been able to return." Wizard Tribulation paled slightly. "Only Third Order Saints can enter. The Starfield has a terrifying pressure that only Third Order Saints can resist." Li Rong also nodded. Wizard Tribulation couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat, feeling some lingering fear. Secretly rejoicing, it was fortunate that he had rushed to inform Kai Yang the moment he received the news, and had not rashly ventured in. Otherwise, with his current level, he was afraid that he would have ended up like those disciples, never to return. "It's just, who opened this entrance?" Li Rong muttered with a confused expression. "Maybe it opened by itself," Yang Kai said thoughtfully. "Opened by itself?" Li Rong and Wizard Tribulation both looked at him with some surprise. There is also a mysterious small world in the Holy Land called the Holy Tomb, which was originally the resting place of the previous Holy Masters. However, some time ago, the entrance to this mysterious small world opened by itself, causing Great Elder and the others to panic for a while. Even now, there is no way to close it, Yang Kai explained casually, the uneasiness in his heart growing stronger. The entrance to the Holy Tomb had opened, and the entrance to the Starfield had also opened, and all of this had happened in the past few days. Strictly speaking, it should have been the day he brought Meng Wu Yue and Xia Ningchang back. Could it really have something to do with that strange world? The distance between them was too far, so how could it be related? Holy Master, how should we deal with this place? Do you need to arrange some people to watch over it? No, go back and warn your Netherworld sect disciples not to intrude. I'm not joking, anyone below the Third Order Saint realm who enters this place will not be able to return. Yes, this wizard firmly believes Holy Master's words. Wizard Tribulation nodded solemnly. I will also warn the Holy Land's disciples not to come here. As for outsiders, if they want to enter, let them, whether they live or die has nothing to do with me. Yang Kai snorted lightly, that's all, go back first. Then this wizard will also take his leave. This time, I went to the Holy Land mainly to inform Holy Master of this matter. Do as you wish. By the way, if you have any saint pills you need to refine, feel free to come to the Holy Land and find me, Yang Kai said again, I can help you refine them first. Wizard Tribulation was overjoyed when he heard this and thanked Yang Kai profusely, claiming that he would go back to prepare the materials and visit Yang Kai again in a few days. In fact, he had long wanted to go to Nine Heavens Holy Land to ask for saint pills, but because his relationship with Yang Kai was quite good, he was a bit embarrassed to do so at this critical juncture. He didn't want to fall victim to rumors and damage the reputation of Nine Heavens Holy Land. However, since Yang Kai had taken the initiative to ask, how could Wizard Tribulation refuse? So he immediately left excitedly. After parting ways with Wizard Tribulation, Yang Kai and Li Rong rushed back to the Holy Land. Along the way, Yang Kai's mind was racing, recalling what great demon god's soul clone had said in that strange world, trying to find any clues or useful information. Chapter 919. Yang Kai and Li Rong returned the way they had come. Seeing his contemplative look, Li Rong didn't say a word, not daring to disturb him, simply following behind him. After a short while, they returned to the 9 peaks. Li Rong suddenly called out softly, Master, there seems to be a situation with the people who came to request alchemy pills. Chem. Yang Kai awoke from his contemplation and looked down. Sure enough, he found that there was some commotion down below. Many of the cultivator who had come to request alchemy pills had gathered together in groups of 3 or 4, whispering to one another. Some of them even stopped waiting and left the 9 peaks to fly away. Seeing their hurried appearance, it was as if they had made some kind of incredible discovery. Because the Holy Land had been ordered not to provide any alchemy services for 10 days, the cultivator waiting outside the 9 peaks had become somewhat bored, but they couldn't give up on this alchemy trip and leave just because of this. What's more, the number of cultivator who had left was simply too high. Yang Kai frowned, not knowing why such a scene had occurred, quickly turning around and flying towards the stone pavilion below. Inside the stone pavilion, Meng Tianfei and Luo Sheng, the 2 Holy Land elders, were sitting there, maintaining order. At this moment, they were also looking at the commotion in the crowd in confusion, not knowing what was going on. In a flash, Yang Kai and Li Rong appeared. The 2 elders quickly stood up and saluted. What happened here? Yang Kai motioned for them to remain silent and asked softly. Subordinate doesn't know. A stick of incense ago, a cultivator who came to request alchemy pills joined the group and said a few words to the other cultivators nearby. Many of them left, Luo Sheng replied. Where is that person? Yang Kai asked. The one at the back of the group. Luo Sheng pointed. Yang Kai looked over and found a middle-aged transcendent realm man standing at the back of the group with a shrewd look on his face. His eyes were shining brightly. As the cultivator in the team continued to leave, he also slowly moved forward. There was even a smug smile at the corner of his mouth. "Do you want this subordinate to investigate the situation?" Luo Sheng asked. "Yes." Yang Kai nodded. Luo Sheng immediately obeyed. A moment later, walking back with a strange expression, he reported, "Holy Master, that guy said that he found an entrance to a mysterious small world on the way here. Those who left all went to explore that mysterious small world." "The entrance to the mysterious small world?" Yang Kai muttered. Yes, his words are very convincing. It doesn't look like he's lying. Since he found the entrance to this mysterious small world, why didn't he explore it instead of coming here to spread the news? Let the others go forward. If there were any benefits inside, wouldn't it be taken away by someone else? Meng Tianfei had a suspicious look on his face. Is this guy planning something? He said that he was weak and alone. I don't dare to enter recklessly. Luo Sheng shrugged. Yang Kai fell into deep thought as his expression became dignified. Turning his gaze towards the direction of that person, he asked after a while, "Have you found where the entrance to that mysterious small world is?" "About 2,000 kilometers from here, to the east." Luo Sheng pointed. "Li Rong, let's go take a look." Yang Kai immediately stood up. "Holy Master, do you want me to inform Great Elder and ask him to go with you?" Luo Sheng asked. "No need, we're just going to take a look. If I'm not mistaken, there shouldn't be anything good inside that mysterious small world," Yang Kai said confidently before leaving with Li Rong again. Once there was no one else around, Yang Kai summoned the Flying Heavens shuttle, turned into a streak of blue light, and disappeared. Aboard the Flying Heavens shuttle, Li Rong asked, "Master, do you believe what that person said? The entrances to mysterious small worlds have always been extremely well hidden and generally can't be found. What he said is very suspicious. In this world, there were many hidden spaces of varying sizes. These spaces were called mysterious small worlds by the world. Some mysterious small worlds were completely barren, while others were inhabited by living creatures. There were even some mysterious small worlds that contained ancient ruins that contained shocking wealth. Once discovered, one could become rich enough to rival an entire country and live a carefree life. Therefore, in Tongxian realm, there were some cultivator who specifically searched for mysterious small worlds, exploring them in order to obtain treasures and make a living. However, as time passed, the number of mysterious small worlds that remained undiscovered became fewer and fewer. Those that were easy to find had already been explored by the cultivator, leaving behind only the most well-hidden mysterious small worlds. The cultivator who came to ask for a pill said he had found the entrance to a mysterious small world, which naturally aroused suspicion. However, everyone in the world was here for profit, so it was inevitable that some people would be confused by his words and rush to the location he said to investigate. If there really was a mysterious small world, they could enter it and perhaps find something. Even if there wasn't, there wouldn't be any losses. I know, but this time I'm afraid it's different. His strength isn't high, so if he really dares to spread such rumors, when those people return, they will take his life. With his shrewd appearance, how could he dig his own grave? Listening to what Yang Kai said, Li Rong suddenly felt that it made sense and nodded, so, he really found it. His luck is really good. Yang Kai shook his head, it may have nothing to do with him. Maybe the entrance to that mysterious small world opened on its own and he was just passing by, so he discovered it. Opened on its own? Li Rong covered her mouth and exclaimed, her beautiful eyes lighting up, is it the same as the entrance to the Holy Tomb and the Starfield's entrance? It's just my guess, so I need to see it with my own eyes, Yang Kai nodded. I wonder if there's anything good inside. Li Rong couldn't help but look forward to it. There shouldn't be anything inside. Yang Kai laughed, that person must have already investigated it, or someone else must have gotten there first. It's not like he said that he didn't dare to rush in because his strength was too low. It was precisely because he was sure there were no treasures inside that he spread the news and let the cultivator in front of him leave, so he could reduce the time he had to wait to ask for pills. Master, your observation is quite detailed. Li Rong looked at Yang Kai with some admiration. The main thing is that guys' eyes are always looking at others, and when he sees someone leave the line, he shows a look of joy. Yang Kai smiled faintly. His thoughts are written all over his face, it's difficult for me not to see them. Those cultivators who left the line didn't notice this because they were blinded by greed. After talking for a while, the Flying Heavens shuttle had already traveled 2,000 kilometers away from the 9 peaks. The blue light stopped mid-air as Yang Kai and Li Rong released their divine senses and spread out. After a while, Yang Kai's expression changed and he controlled the Flying Heavens shuttle to fly in a certain direction. After a dozen breaths, the two appeared not far from the entrance to a dark void corridor. Just as Yang Kai had expected, this place had already been occupied by someone else. Many cultivators were gathered outside the entrance, vigilantly looking around, secretly condensing their strength, making it clear that no one was allowed to approach. Yang Kai secretly observed them and found that their strength wasn't high, only at the immortal ascension boundary. There wasn't even a single transcendent, so he no longer concealed himself and strode over with Li Rong. "Who goes there? Stop." As soon as they saw the two of them reveal themselves, those martial artists that guarded the entrance instantly seemed as if they were facing a great enemy, and one of them shouted with a grim voice. "This is the restricted area of my Chen clan, and outsiders aren't allowed to trespass. If you still don't stop moving, then we won't hold back anymore." "Master, do you want to?" Li Rong inquired. "Be gentle." Yang Kai nodded lightly. An invisible spiritual energy burst out from Li Rong's knowledge sea, causing all the cultivators gathered around the entrance to stare blankly in place, as if they didn't see Yang Kai and Li Rong at all, allowing them to pass by and enter the entrance. With Li Rong's means, dealing with these immortal ascension boundary cultivators was a simple matter, deceiving their perception was a piece of cake. However, since Yang Kai didn't order them to kill, Li Rong also showed mercy. It wasn't until the two figures disappeared from the edge of the entrance that the cultivators suddenly woke up. Looking around, they found that the man and woman from before had disappeared, immediately realizing how terrifying their opponent's strength was, causing them to break out in cold sweat. Inside the mysterious small world, Yang Kai and Li Rong leisurely appeared. When Xiao Chen spread out his spiritual sense, he discovered that there were many cultivators moving around. They seemed to be searching for something. Yang Kai summoned the Flying Heavens shuttle again and together with Li Rong, transformed into a blue light and disappeared. Half an hour later, the pair returned to the entrance. There was indeed a ruin inside this mysterious small world, but there were no signs of life. The cultivators should have entered later and were currently searching for treasures inside. Moreover, this mysterious small world wasn't very large, only about a third the size of Demon God Citadel. However, the Chen family should have gained a lot this time. This family didn't have any masters, and even the most powerful cultivator was only a transcendent realm cultivator. It was almost the same as the central capital's 8 great families. The artifacts and martial books obtained from this ruin could be used as capital for the family's growth. "Let's go, there's nothing to see here." Yang Kai took a light breath and returned with Li Rong from the entrance. When the cultivators outside saw this man and woman appear again, all of them widened their eyes, but they no longer dared to be as aggressive as before. Instead, they were a little frightened. The methods of these two were too amazing, they could see it clearly. What made them feel slightly relieved though was that this man and woman didn't intend to embarrass them. After walking out of the mysterious small world, they walked straight into the distance. "Right, there are many Saint Transcendents heading this way, they should arrive here in half a day at most. You should inform the elders of your families to quickly withdraw from this mysterious small world, otherwise there may be a bloody disaster waiting for you." Yang Kai turned back and kindly reminded them before leaving with Li Rong. It wasn't until the backs of the two disappeared that the cultivator who had shouted angrily at Yang Kai wiped the sweat off his forehead and hurriedly entered the mysterious small world. Apparently, he was going to inform the elders of his family about the words Yang Kai had said before he left and let the patriarch and elders decide. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.